3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 43 of Nerds and Words. This week, Tim is taking a break. He may be taking an extended break from the podcast and BDO. You'll have to ask him about that. I think he's waiting to kind of decide something more official. But for now, it's going to be myself as well as Potion Shop TV.
Hello.
And special guest plus potential permanent addition to the podcast, perhaps, Kerr.
Yo, what's up?
So how you guys doing? How was your week, Potion?
I've had an awesome week. Been grinding at Baragi Din the entire time. I think I've officially set my goal for 2 million trash loot here, just because of the amount of silver I need. So I'm currently at 275. So I've been working on that on and on. I started a new YouTube channel. The idea of the YouTube channel is I'm going to have a YouTube channel that's just BDO and like low quality BDO content. Like I want to do like videos that are like an hour long, just me grinding. And so if it gets 10 views or 1,000 or 100,000, doesn't really matter. It's just the goal is just really easy content for me to put out there. And if I have like a thought on a topic like Hadoom, for example, like the basic of Hadoom, then I can make a video on that and not have to worry about it, the quality or anything, and get stuck on that. And then my main YouTube channel, I can do all the high quality stuff whenever I have time. So that's what I've been up to this week.
Are you have you been able to put out a bunch of content on that channel already, or is that just something that's kind of in the works?
I started 2 days ago, and I have 3 YouTube videos up on it.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I have one.
You're enjoying that so far?
Yeah, I think it's a good model for like what I like doing, because I like putting a lot of my time into streaming BDO, so it doesn't leave a lot of time for YouTube videos. And a good YouTube video, in my opinion, will take a whole day of us working on it at least. And I just don't have that type of time when I'm streaming a full day already. So I needed a solution to that, and the solution came up with this easy stuff. So I have 3 videos right now. One is an hour of Sage grinding at Bragi Din on a rotation. Then one is my Awakening Sorceress grinding on a different rotation at Bragi Din. And I basically just record the trash loot and say this is what it is. There's a lot of videos out there that are like that already, so why not have some of my own? And that's just super easy content. It says 1 hour grind, upload, make sure you record the data, and then you're done. So, and then the other type of video is just like me sitting down and talking about a topic. So the other video is like skill points. And so I basically talk about like the 4 different 4 different grind spots for good skill points. And like this, it's a quick 12-minute video. It took me maybe 45 minutes to make and upload, and then I'm done. It's just, I like it. It's a good format for me personally.
Yeah, I have the same problem with YouTube. I always want to put out something that's more organized, but that's going to take like a full day of work. And so I end up just not putting out anything.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll work out or not. I mean, time will tell if the actual, like, if it's actually worth the time of doing it.
I feel like it's kind of the YouTube meta, honestly, dude. Even for other games, like the videos that all these top creators put out, it feels like they just sit down, record themselves talking for 10 minutes with no script or forethought, and then just like whatever happens.
Yeah.
And, like that's
it
the
really
guy.
is. Like if you do this crazy big high scale project to like go super in depth into something, there's no saying that like there will be any return or if the video will even do good compared to just like, oh, I enhanced a Tech Cadre ring, right? In like a 2-minute clip.
Yeah, I mean, I put in a lot of thought to my main channel's YouTube videos, and I think, the ones that do well, like the ones that do well are like 30,000 to 100,000 views, but it's like, that's like one out of, like, it takes me a whole 2 months to figure out a good idea like that. And it's just, like, that's just not the YouTube meta. It's not one video a month, it's one video a day or something. So it's just not really sustainable. But I want to kind of expand this. I'm going to do this one I called Lotion Shop because my chat thought that was hilarious. So that's the name of the new YouTube channel. I'm going to do one that's called Music Shop, and it's going to be just my music that people can stream DMCA free. And then I'm going to have another one for Nerds and Words. So that way, if people just want Nerds and Words, they can have just Nerds and Words. If they just want music, they can just have music, and that way they can kind of choose what they want to subscribe to. Where my current YouTube channel is a mess, where it's like a little bit of everything, and I even have like a Destiny video up on there, and no one cares about that. So,
didn't you have one Destiny video that got like crazy views?
Yeah, it has like 600,000 right now or something like that. I mean, I know how the YouTube meta kind of works, but it's just like finding those ideas and taking the time to make a good YouTube video like that just takes too long.
Yeah,
It's
for
also
sure.
pretty hard for BDO, right? Like if we still had something like Shadow Arena, you could definitely milk something like that for pretty consistent YouTube stuff. But as long like you either do enhancing or you just do like random kind of meme stuff or like show off rotations, you know?
Well, another big problem with BDO is that there's not a very popular game. So when you create average content for other games, it gets like 100,000 views potentially. But you make average content for BDO and it's like 10,000 to 30,000 views. And that just gets to the point where it's almost not worth it for like paying the bills. And like
I feel
there's
like that's picking up though. Like the Steam charts for BDO seem like they're surging right now for whatever reason.
I do think, yeah, that's true. I do think it's better, and especially if you have an established brand, like you put in the time and effort, like Fake Uniform has, or like there's several other people who have done.
Yo, what's her
YouTube.
name? Ace Alpha or whatever, bro. Her
Yeah.
YouTube be pretty banging, and all she does is like random enhancing clips and stuff. Like it's kind of crazy. And that's like the short form, right? Like it's kind of what you were saying, where it's like the stuff where you don't put the craziest amount of time and effort into is like kind of the way to go. More like volume, just like sheer amount of stuff.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm curious. I had this idea of like I knew the YouTube meta right now is you make a YouTube channel and you just make a whole bunch of them, and then you just see what sticks, and each one has its own kind of theme to it. And I was trying to think of something that would fit BDO better, and I think I finally kind of figured that out a little bit.
Kerr, how's your week been?
I've been suffering from too much time.
What?
Yeah, so like I had finals last week. At least I think it was last week. So I was like, I had my schedule where it was like had class on these days, stream during these times, you know, homework during these times. Well, then like after finals, all that stopped. So now it's like I got no obligations. So there was like a
Must be
whole
nice.
day. Yeah, there was literally a whole day where I think I just like laid on the couch and watched Criminal Minds for like 18 hours. But other than that, I'm pretty good.
Is that
Trying to
show
get
still
back on
going?
track. It has like 20 seasons. It's crazy. I
That
didn't
is
even know it was
crazy.
still going. But yeah, other than that, it's going pretty good. I goofed off on Elyon a little bit last night, but I guess we'll probably talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. Cool. What's new in BDO? And you still doing the 5 billion trash grind or whatever?
Yeah, I'm doing 1 mil at Orcs and 1 mil at Monastery. I'm behind where I want to be because like finals and school and stuff, but I'm about 500k Orc trash, maybe closer to 600k now. And then
I saw you had like 300 void stones or something.
Yeah, I got almost 400 void stones now. They like stack up pretty decently.
Dang, that's so many.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wait, how much money is that? Isn't that like?
I'm expecting by the everything's said and done, once I have 1 million of both trash, to have around 100 bill. Because just in trash alone, it's 18.5 bill from the orc trash and 19 bill from monastery. Plus I have enough to make like 4 or 5 of the crit ring upgrades, which are a bill each, and then you have all the black stones and all the 3 mil drops and stuff. So it adds up pretty quick.
Not bad, not bad, not bad. I actually messed up my math when I was doing the math for Bragi Din, because I was counting the shards. You combine like the yellow shards with the fury shards for the cup.
Yeah.
And I was calculating that based on just getting the drops at 1 grind spot and not dividing it by 2, because you have to get them at 100 at 1 and 100 at, orcs or something. So really you're only getting half the value out of it per shard, not the full value. So I thought my grind spot was 284 million, but it's actually 234 million, assuming I eventually get the red shard.
It's pretty good.
I mean, it's pretty good. It does add up really fast. That's why I ended up doing 1 mil for both, because if I do 1 mil at orcs, then I end up with a lot of red shards that are kind of just there. But if I do 1 mil at one and then 1 mil at the other, I can like turn all those shards into the 1 mil ring upgrade or the 1 bill ring upgrades. So it kind of works out in the end.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, my week's been pretty good. I had a pretty crazy birthday stream a couple days ago. Got just a
Yo, I saw.
massive outpouring of support and love from everybody. So that was pretty crazy. Got up super early yesterday to play Elyon for like 7 or 8 hours, and then kind of crashed in the afternoon. The Awakened Sage, I've been spending a lot of time on him, and it looks like he's finally getting some buffs. I've been kind of teetering on the brink of tagging him and taking him to like large scale and kind of doing okay, not great, but not terrible. And it looks like he's finally getting some of the changes on Global Lab this week. It might. Oh God! Speaking of which, I'm dying in PvE right now.
Yeah, he
But
actually
it looks like
got buffed today. Yeah, they added some like accuracy modifiers and some other things.
yeah, and some more use of his iframe, which is like what his main weakness right now. He basically has 0 iframes and just like has no ability to disengage. So
Yo, speaking of Global Lab, they made some crazy changes this week to Global Lab. If you guys want to jump into that.
They also like confirmed that they still do what they used to do, where they balance classes based off KDA in like large scale.
yeah, that was an interesting little comment.
Bro.
Yep, that's not the way.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to go straight into global labs, we can, or I'm cool with whatever, however you want to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, the patrons I think are like secondary to like these global labs because the global labs just keep having like the most interesting stuff just about. So this week the global lab had the sheriff system update. That was the big thing for global lab, and this is, I think, we'll probably need some polish like once it comes out, and like there'll be a few ways to abuse it maybe. But I think the ultimate idea of this sheriff system that they're like talking about releasing is really, really good. What do you guys think about it?
Oh, I knew you were gonna say that, bro. I'm in pain,
Dude, it's like good and bad. There's
Yeah.
a couple things in there that like when you see the bounty system, it's good, right? It's something that we've been waiting for a long time. But then there's also some bad where it's like your bounty gets increased more depending on the AP/DP gap between you and the other person.
Yeah, that
So it's like
sucks.
another form of karma bombing, right?
Yeah, I actually I think that since they're not getting rid of karma, I think it's overall a negative for the game because I think it should be replacing karma and like PvPers just fight PvPers. I also think that they're doing some type of season reward for it, and I think that can potentially get abused also. With like a system like, hey, I kill you, you killed me, I get logged into my other characters, you kill them, or like I feel like there's like ways to abuse that on like maybe a guild level system, like a guild size. I don't know. It seems like
if this was replacing karma, I think I'd be a lot more open to it. But in its current state, it just seems like another version of karma. I don't see how it's going to play out any differently or any better. Like, what do you guys think the differences between this and the karma system are going to be that'll cause it to like emerge as an interesting mechanic rather than just another form of griefing?
I think the good things about this is that PvPers will fight PvPers because people who flag up are willing to PvP. And so then, a sheriff will come along and he's also willing to PvP. And so you have two people who are willing to PvP fight each other. And this, I think in the best case scenario, would make it where the average PvEer would have less PvP because the PvP people are tired of PvPing each other. So I think that could be that could be a good side effect from this. But ultimately, I think it hinges on too many factors right now. There's like too many like factors that make it griefable or like are too punishing for the person flagging up. So I think the result of this will probably just be less people flagging up rather than the intended function of enjoyable PvP for people who desire it. So,
I'm kind of with Moro in the sense that like if it was just a system by itself that was in the works to replace karma, like current karma, I would be more optimistic about it. But it's kind of weird with like the way it's going to interact with karma, right? Because like not only does the person get punished for like killing a griefer by losing their karma, they also get punished by the griefer being able to like have people chase them and like kill them, right?
Yeah, I do think the report system is pretty cool. So like it's not going to be like you're just random person can see you all the way across the game world and come and find you and kill you. Like you'll be like regular people who are wandering around the game world can report you. So if you go to a city and someone sees you in a city, and they're a regular karma person, like they can report you, and then a bounty hunter or a sheriff can come and get you. But if you're like off in the middle of the woods in some grind spot no one's at, and then it's gonna be a lot harder for people to report you because there's just not gonna be people around. So I think.
Wait, so how does the reporting work? Why does it matter if people are around or not?
Because when you're infamous, you can get reported by people, and that's how the sheriff finds you. So if the sheriff,
I thought you just get reported by the person you kill.
well, the person you kill can come back and report you, but if there's no sheriffs nearby, like there's apparently some type of range to it, then no one will come by and kill you. So like, but your infamy won't go down until someone does eventually find you. So the idea is that it's sort of like a hide and seek type thing, where if you're in an obscure grind spot killing people, there's a lot more like benefit to doing that if you just plan on staying there for a long time. So I think it can be a little bit interesting if they balance it properly.
Yeah, and you could pay 30 mil to drop your infamy, which is kind of weird.
It's random though, which I don't really like. I like that you can pay off your own bounty and bribe the old Moon Guild. I kind of like that undertone there, but it's a random amount that you will lose, and you don't know how much infamy you have left because the infamy system is hidden. Like I think it's
hidden infamy. Great, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it should give you like a status if you want to hide numbers behind things. Just call it like, slightly notorious, very notorious, extremely notorious, infamous, extremely infamous. Like make it some type of naming scheme so people can know roughly where they're at. If they don't want to tell us the exact amount. So,
do you guys remember Desert PvP and that whole outlaw system?
Oh, there's a jail too. They
yeah.
said there's gonna be a jail.
Yeah, you get sent to jail.
Yeah.
I'm curious because the translation that I read was you have to spend labor, which makes me think of energy and BDO. So you have to it'd be maybe like the Arcade gel where you have to complete a task, and then once you complete it, you get teleported back to where you were.
Oh, is it not the same as the Pilaku jail?
There's not a lot of details on it, but they said something about the translation said labor, and I would assume that this means energy.
Well, the reason I'm so skeptical about this is because I remember the outlaw system in Valencia. It was a colossal failure. Here's what would happen: you would go to a grind spot, like let's say Fogan's or Crescent's. You would find someone. You would grind on top of them until they got frustrated and flagged up. You would then purposely let them kill you so that they would get the outlaw debuff. You would revive at the shrine 2 seconds away, come back, and just attack them over and over again until they died and got sent to jail.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the big problems with both the karma system and the regular, this new system, will be how fast people can just revive. Just plug a tier, and then blam, you're back up on your feet, you pull in all your gear, and you wipe them out. And then
yeah.
Then they're off to jail.
I don't see how this new system is any different than that. If people know there's a system where they can punish you for killing them, they'll just let you kill them and then enact the punishment in order to, quote unquote, win.
I do think that the punishment is one step more removed in the system, because I don't think everybody can be a sheriff. I think it's something you have to be actively doing. You
had to do a quest.
So they had some good aspects. They put that part where it was okay, you gain karma for killing, for doing bounties, and then there's bounty leaderboards with rewards. So I mean, that could kind of be cool, maybe. I mean, kind of manipulatable, but maybe it'll be decent. Hopefully it's not the last iteration. They're gonna hit the.
Yeah, I like the idea of rewards and notoriety for open world PvP. I just wish there were actual objectives that we were fighting over and not just random alt-C grind spot griefing. Yeah,
I definitely think there needs to be more objectives, but it's one step at a time. And so I hope they kind of do if they can get this down right, then they can, maybe they'll make the the guild system in the nodes, where you're drilling in the desert. That might reinforce that a little better.
Did that ever come out in Korea, or is that still just a theoretical content?
It's in Global Labs, and they updated it, I think last week or the week before last. They updated something about it, so it seems like something they're still kind of iteratively working on. I think that's another thing, is how long is it going to be until they get this? I think it's this type of thing where you kind of release it and you do tweaks on it over time, because I don't think you'll be able to tell actively on Global Lab if it's working properly or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope this is one of those things that stays on Global Lab for a while until they think about it a bit more and kind of iron out some of the kinks before, just beta testing it on the live servers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the double penalties, though, for Karma is really harsh. The penalties are twice as much, and the rewards are not there. And, like, there should be a reward for flagging up and killing somebody, and that should be, like, making it where the person that you killed disappears. But
yes, please.
This currently seems like the current people who are actually trying to flag up and win PvP are the people who are getting punished the most. And I feel like that needs to be addressed. Like, there needs to be some type of respawn system in place that goes along with this. Otherwise, there's no point. Because who's going to flag up anyway with the current karma system? Nobody. Like, everybody's just the players came up with their own solution because the current karma system's so bad. So unless they solve, like, what do you win when you flag up, like, until they solve that, I don't think the notoriety system, although really, really cool, no one's going to use it. And if you it's sort of like if as a sheriff you can't find anybody who has a bounty on their head, then it's going to make the system even more dead on arrival, because, like, sheriffs will need somebody to be able to hunt at all times. Otherwise, it just won't be any fun.
Well, I don't know. Why do we want to punish people for open world PvP to begin with? Like, I think that there should be mechanics that punish people for, very one-sided, pointless griefing. But I feel like that gets conflated with defending your spots. Like, there's purposely scarcity in terms of grind spots built into this game. So they obviously want people to fight over those spots. I wish that they would implement a system that allowed you to, like, claim a spot or to, like, actually duel for a spot or fight for a spot in a way that didn't punish your karma or didn't make you like a wicked player or something. And then kind of left.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Like, do you guys feel you even should be obligated to duel someone for the spot? Because, like, I personally feel like if someone wants the spot, they should have to flag up and take it. I personally don't really care for this duel for spot thing where it's like, if I deny your duel for spot, you get mad and blah, blah, blah. I feel like people should have to, like, actually fight.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, the reason you do duel for spot is as a courtesy to the person. Normally, when I tell someone duel for spot, what I'm saying is, I'm going to kill you now. Would you like to go away from mobs so that we don't lose crystals? And if you kill me first, I will leave you alone. Like, it's just a courtesy thing. Mm-hmm. But absolutely. If someone doesn't duel for the spot, I'm going to press Alt C and kill them. But the problem is, even if I do that, I don't actually win the spot, because they can easily just come back and karma bomb me, or they can tier on the spot and then they can really karma bomb me. And now with this, they can also make me an infamous player and triple karma bomb me. And it's like, okay, what are we doing? What's the point? What are we trying to, what gameplay result are we trying to achieve here?
Yeah, I mean, the only way I can see them doing anything other than just making it where the person who died has a longer respawn timer. Like, the only thing I can see them do is make it where they decrease your drop rate for the node that you died in, and that would be like a temporary debuff for that server. At that node. That'd be the only other thing I could really see them in work, because everything else would be so convoluted and complicated to implement for Pearl Abyss that it's unrealistic they'll ever do it.
Some of the little notes that they have here are really funny too. Like, they say, if a target attack through force PvP dies within 10 seconds, then the infamy value will be higher. So you have to, like, attack someone, count to 11, and then kill them, or else you get a bigger penalty. It's just like so bizarre.
2 Mississippi.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance in there, and they need to boil down the current system to its core fundamentals, and, like, that's what they need to do, because there's too much, like, random stuff in there. Like, well, if someone's way over geared, then you lose more notoriety, but you don't know how much notoriety you're losing because we hit it. And, like, you can gain notoriety back, but it's a random amount, and you can also pay for a bounty to get it back. It's like there's way too much nuance to it all.
Why don't they, instead of trying to do these weird things based on the amount of time the person takes to die, which is like a utterly arbitrary mechanic, or the gear difference, which is like a little bit less arbitrary, but still kind of dumb because people will just take gear off to abuse the system. Why don't they make it region based? Like killing someone at, Potion's favorite spot, Sazens, has a minus 200k karma penalty, but killing someone at Hadoom only has a 10k penalty. You know what I mean? Like, why don't they just make it based on the node that you're standing in? Why does it have to do this weird calculation based on whether you die in 10 seconds or 11? It just, everything that they try to do to fix the karma system, there's so much other clearer, better ways of accomplishing the same goal that you couldn't abuse, but they just do this in the most abusable way possible, and it just goes to show that like none of these devs actually PvP in this game.
It's also really weird that like being red player or an outlaw isn't a viable like play style. Like I don't know why they try so hard to like punish you for PvPing in an open world PvP game, right? Like it's kind of odd that that's not a viable play style, because like you lose crystals, et cetera, which are worth hundreds of mil nowadays, right?
Yeah, I think they need to do this. They need to rework karma, and then they need to rework the penalties for dying to another player. And like once they, I think, do all three of those, then maybe we have a system that works properly. But right now, I feel like they're adding a Band-Aid fix onto an already broken leg or something. It's like they need to kind of like treat the core issues with it before they add anything new.
I think I might actually be misreading this 10-second thing. It says if a target, so this depends on the translation, but it says if a target attacked through forced PvP dies within 10 seconds. So that I wonder if that's actually targeted towards mob deaths. Like if you hit someone and then, or you grab someone and feed them to mobs, like they take a death within 10 seconds of you hitting them, then you still lose infamy. I feel like that could be what they're trying to do.
Ooh, that'd be really cool because that prevents like team fighting. It'd be like people would be encouraged to always honor like a 1v1 or a 2v2 if that's the case. Because you
like if multiple people hit you and you die, they all take an infamy hit.
Yeah.
When does that happen though? When do people go around in like roaming groups pressing Alt C to kill someone?
I think guilds do this a lot. Like they'll have a guild member who dies, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm in a nearby grind spot at Hadoom. I'll come over." And then they'll have like 2 or 3 people from the same guild at the grind spot until you leave.
But then that's just a GVG, right? Like I don't know.
No, well, I mean that's happened to me several times at Bragi Den. Well, maybe 2 times so far at Bragi Den, where I've just had I killed somebody, and then their guildmate shows up, and then it's a 2v1 at that point.
And they're both flagging up on you.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's happened 2 times so far. I mean, I'm not in a guild, so their only option is literally to flag up on me.
Yeah, I mean, feeding people to mobs isn't really the best solution either. It's kind of just the workaround that we found to deal with the game's broken karma system.
Yep.
Again, I just feel like making these things region based or making penalties for both, attacker and griefer there's just a lot of other ways to do this. I
kind of want to boil it down to like, what are the good things about it and what are the bad things? Like, what do you think are the good things that they think that they execute well, and what are the problems they need to fix?
You guys might have to go first. I don't see the upside to a system like this. I don't understand who this is for. So I go do a quest as a sheriff, and then I go find random people who are flagged because they defended their grind spots, and I blow them up, or they have to pay silver. I don't get it at all, personally.
I like the idea of PvPers fighting PvPers, and if you're flagging up, you take on that associated risk of getting additional PvP. And I think that's good because it mixes up the monotony of grinding if you opt into that. Like the monotony of grinding is you spend 100 hours at a grind spot and it never changes. But with this sheriff system, you can spend 100 hours in a grind spot and maybe one day you have 2 sheriffs show up, next day you have none, and next day you have no. This just adds another layer of complexity to like the game's really, really boring open world system right now. And I think that is definitely an upside of this overall.
So I guess it depends on how the sheriff punishing works. Like if I get teleported to a Pilaku style jail, or if I have to sit there and spend energy or something, like if there's some major timeout for being killed by a sheriff, then yeah, that's literally just the Valencia system all over again, right? Which clearly failed. I would say the Valencia system has zero upside whatsoever. It was just an objectively bad system and remains to be so. Even in the current state of the game, we just don't care as much because no one grinds in Valencia anymore. But I, I'm just having a hard time seeing how this plays out in a way that's fun rather than a way that just punishes people for fighting. I don't think there's a lot of people who are going around pressing Alt C and just killing weak players for the hell of it. I think most people who flag up and kill someone are doing it because they're getting griefed at a grind spot and they don't have any other recourse.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think the jail thing is something they should, like, how the punish people who died to a sheriff should be extremely carefully considered. I think the idea of teleporting some player to some place so they can do another activity in the game and forcing them to do that should be a very extreme penalty. I think like a light penalty would be a sheriff shows up, they kill you, and your respawn timer is slightly increased, and so maybe you have to wait 3 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that, and that I think would be a fairly moderate penalty. And like especially if they pause like loot scrolls and stuff like that when you're dead, I think that would also be a really great addition to that. That way, it's like you're still getting punished because you have to wait way longer for your respawn timer, and you still had to PvP somebody and waste time. But I think, yeah, I think they need to very carefully consider the punishments, like you said. I think that's a really good strong point.
I hope this kind of gives them a segue to take a look at the outdated karma system. Like that, hopefully, is like the best case scenario that can come for this, even if the sheriff system doesn't turn out to be good, which I'm kind of optimistic about it because they've done a lot of good changes lately out of nowhere for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully, it just kind of gives them a little nudge to like look at the interactions with the karma system and like stop being so. I don't know, like being red should be a viable play style, even if it's something simple like being red, no longer break crystals on death, like you do have done since the beginning of the time, and give you like a 10% drop rate buff or something, right?
The problem with the current one is it's permanent penalties. That's instead of temporary penalties. That is the main issue right now with karma. You know, the chance of permanently losing gear score or permanently losing crystals is that's just way too punishing. Like, no matter how you look at it, like, you know, when you invest time into a game, you don't want to ever go backwards permanently. You know, taking a temporary step backwards would be acceptable, but you know, having the potential of potentially downgrading a pin black star to a tap black star is just not an option. That's straight up not an option. Like, so you just never go red, right?
Well, you can protect downgrading just by making sure you've got crystals in, but yeah, nobody's going to go like risking their expensive crystals and their LCARs and such. Players who do the perma red thing usually just have, you know, kind of shit crystals in their gear that they can replace. So, and that's kind of the only way you can do the perma red play style. That's why you almost never see anyone who's perma red in this game.
Well, there's like so many issues with that though, because like one of the issues is like, all right, let's say you are getting farmed by some dude and you're perma red, then you respawn at node and he's camping you at the node, and then if you respawn in town, there's like guards. So like, and then if the servers lag at all, then you just die to a guard. And that's happened so many times where people are getting farmed at a node. They need to like put in some crystals. They can't, so they go to a town and then they die to a guard because of the respawn system. You know, it's just like there's like several things like that which are just, you know, there's no alternative.
Yeah, I mean, and to some extent, like I'm okay with red players having a harder playstyle or being punished. The problem is that with the current karma system, like you want to think about what scenarios are causing someone to go red or what behavior you're punishing. If someone is just going around killing people randomly as an outlaw, then yeah, you should punish them for that behavior. The game should be harder for someone who's playing like that. But if someone's just defending their grind spot because someone is grinding on top of them and like spurging out on them, like what are we doing? Why do we want to punish that? Why do we even have a scarce number of grind spots to begin with? Why don't we just make instance dungeons or something? Like, we want to figure out which open world objectives in this game are meaningful and which ones aren't, right? What is griefing and what is just part of the game? If people are showing up to Star's End or to a Hadum grind spot and getting killed, why are we punishing the people who are doing that killing? It's not like these are newbie spots. It's not like, I mean, it's odd to me. I think the devs don't know what kinds of behavior they want to allow and what kind of behavior they don't want to allow. And they need to make that decision first before they're going to go forward and put forth all these different systems. They're going to punish people for a variety of behavior that are all not necessarily connected.
Well, I think letting the players choose what they do and don't want to PvP for is probably the best case scenario if they can do that. I think the whole purpose of karma is to prevent the extreme behaviors that would cause people to quit the game. That's right. What I think.
I think that's a good purpose, right? Like, you want to punish people for behaving in a way that's going to cause other people to quit. But why do you want to punish someone for like flagging up at Red Orcs and killing someone at Red Orcs? That just seems odd to me. Like, I feel like a lot of these end game grind spots either shouldn't have karma at all, like they should all be considered Arsha spots to some extent, or there should be some kind of sliding scale where like the higher level grind spot you go to, the less karma exists. Like the influence of Hadum should weaken the effects of karma in that region or something, like, because that's what the Arsha server is. The Arsha server is, you're going somewhere, you're getting increased loot, and the risk is higher PvP. But that same dynamic exists across other parts of the game. The more contested and higher end of a grind spot you go to, the higher the risk of PvP is, and the higher the reward is for grinding at that spot. So why don't we just implement that same thing to lesser degrees across the game, across other channels, and then people who don't want a PvP can just go to like Sakraya or Akhman or someplace that's not as contested. It's not like they can't play the game or can't make money. They're just not going to be able to go to the places that have the highest rewards.
So you basically think the karma penalties are too harsh currently, and that they should be based on they should be less harsh in more like in-game grind spots.
It's not even a matter of harshness. It's a matter of they're targeted at the wrong people. We're punishing the wrong people for the wrong behavior. That we need to think about. Again, we should think about what kind of behavior we actually want in open world PvP and punish behavior we don't want. And if these devs really just are against non-consensual PvP across the board, then again, add 100 more channels and then get rid of channel swapping cooldowns and just let people grind at different spots and get rid of PvP, right? Like, there's so many different conflicting things. They don't seem to know what they actually want from open world PvP in this game. I don't like, what is the actual point to this? There's no point.
And the two don't coexist very well, right? Because let's say, for example, Potion, you're grinding your spot, right? You're grinding your spot, you're chilling, whatever. I come up to you, I flag on you, you kill me. Well, then I come back and karma bomb you, right? Yeah, exactly. But I karma bomb you, right? Well, then now you also, not only did you lose all your karma and your negative karma, you're also marked as an outlaw now. So not only do you lose your spot, your negative karma, you also have people now hunting you, right? So it's like double punishment. And all you didn't do anything. You just defended your spot. So it's kind of like you're being punished for PvPing in an open world PvP game, right? Which is kind of,
yeah. I guess that's one thing they need to identify is they need to. I agree. They need to decide, like Moreland said, what kind of PvP do they want to allow? What kind of PvP do they want to try to prevent? Like, how much PvP should be allowed? And then that needs to be clearly envisioned in the changes in how they balance the game and communicate to players like, all right, we're trying to prevent this type of behavior. We're trying to encourage this type of behavior. We want to allow this in limited, like that way, the players understand where the developers are coming from. Because right now, it's just anyone's guess, right? It's like, oh, well, I think we should be able to PvP. And next guy's like, well, I think we shouldn't be able to PvP. And in reality, it doesn't really matter what any of us think. It really just matters what the developers are trying to accomplish and for the game. That way we can enjoy it the way they see fit. Or decide not to participate if we don't like it. So yeah, I feel like right now, like you said, it's like we want to have PvP, but we don't want to have too much PvP. And then they haven't really thought about it past there, I feel like you said.
Yeah, they don't want griefing, which is understandable, but they don't seem to play their own game enough to understand when and where griefing occurs and what should and shouldn't be considered griefing. Like, I just don't think someone alt-seeing to defend their grind spot is griefing. However, someone pearl resing 15 times after they die in a grind spot, I feel like kind of is griefing, and yet that's the behavior that gets rewarded and sustained, and the person defending their spot is the one who gets punished. So, what how is that good for the game? How is that going to make anyone want to keep playing or not want to quit?
Yeah, I think this is one of the big problems that they're having right now is they're making a lot of choices based on, I think, finances. Like, energy remains unfixed in the game, and that stifles a lot of the economy of BDO, and that is mainly tied to pay to win. Like, they literally hotfixed the high quality wine because they thought it was such a big issue. Like, I'm like, shocking. And the only way I can think they would do that is because of pay to win. Like, the reason they haven't fixed karma, maybe it's related to Elyon's tears. Like, it's sort of like the underlying feeling I get from a lot of this stuff is that they just don't want to remove these tiny monetization things where they're getting a few extra dollary dues here or there. And I think,
I don't think it's that malicious. I think they're just genuinely clueless. Like, I don't know. It is a problem that they're financially incentivized to have things like Elyon's Tears be sold, right? Like, Elyon's Tears is an item that literally should not work in PvP ever. And yet it does. And they're financially incentivized to keep that broken item in the game because people apparently spend money on it. I don't know.
Somebody does. I know occasionally I'll buy like 50, I'll buy one when I accidentally die to a mob or something. I don't have a tier.
Oh, I've gotten so many tiers for free. I've never even gotten close to running out. But I also don't pearl bomb people, so maybe,
well,
I just haven't gone through my stockpile.
The reason that happens to me is I'll change characters and they'll all be on the other character or something.
Family inventory, bro. That's what it's designed for. You can karma bomb across your whole account now.
There. I actually just bought 4 more spaces because I was like, I needed some more for my elixirs. I'm slowly getting addicted to family inventory.
I bought a lot of spaces over the last couple months.
Honestly, pretty smart play. The one thing I hope they do for family inventory, on a quick note on that, is I hope they allow you to use it with your maid. I want to be able to open up my maid, select my family inventory, and just swap anything from my family inventory over to my bank. Or vice versa.
Should be able to put treasure items in it. So like your infinite.
Yeah, dude.
Absolutely.
I don't know why you can't. That's kind of dumb that you can't do that still.
Yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts on the sheriff system? I want to see it come out or like get some more iterations. I definitely think that karma and stuff needs to be looked at. It's by far from perfect, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it
as well because the idea of a outlaw and sheriff system in the game is nice. They just kind of have to really take a good look at it and make it so that it's not too overly abusable, or they have to rework the current karma system because, like Moreland said, it's all like they don't know. It's like they don't know what they want to be considered griefing or just like open world PvP, right?
Well, it also feels like they've never gone and looked at any other MMOs and learned any lessons whatsoever from their like good and evil systems. Like, there's just a lot of fundamental concepts that are completely missing from the, good versus wicked dynamic in BDO. And it just feels like these devs have never even played another game before or never like thought about how those dynamics should work. But yeah, I don't know. I could rant about this shit all day. You know how it is.
Dude, I just want being a red player to be a viable playstyle. I don't think you should be punished for super punished for PvPing in a PvP game. Personally.
Well, there should be upsides and downsides to being evil, right? Like, the upside of being evil is usually greater freedom in how you interact with other players. And the downside is, that you get punished if you die. But it just, I don't know. In BDO, it's just, everything is backwards.
Yeah, it feels that way for sure.
So yeah, we'll just wait and see what they do with it, I guess. Hopefully this is just like the first iteration, right?
And that seems to be, if you look at what they've been doing for new stuff, is they've been iterating on it. Like the drill, they've done several iterations on the drill. Like when Thunderstorm Kutum came out, on Global Lab, they've done several versions of that and did a few different changes to it. And I feel like this is something that they've started learning. It's like, all right, we're not going to make the best thing first time around. So let's get it like a basic version of it on Global Lab, and then let's make some changes that people want. You know? And hopefully that's what this is for this, because I think this potentially is a huge game changer for the game that could really help out the open world PvP, or it could be a really bad addition. And it just really comes down to how they balance it.
Yeah, I hope it stays on Global Lab for a bit. I mean, if this goes through another few weeks where they really think about it and listen to feedback, it could turn into something interesting. But I still feel like before any kind of system like this would work, there's some fundamental changes that need to occur to the karma system in open world PvP, and just incentivized PvP as such needs to be thought about in a real way in this game before a system like this works at all.
Do you guys want to go on to Thunderstorm Kutum and the patch notes, or do you guys want to finish up Global Lab?
Let's talk a little bit more about Global Lab. I think the Sage change, I think, is the main other thing to go over here.
What do you guys like about it? What's good? What's bad?
I've at a glance, I think I kind of like all of it. I'm scrolling through it again to see if there's any stuff here that I don't like. It's some of the translation is a little confusing. But notably, I'm trying to see exactly what they've done in terms of nerfs, because there's saying in the blue text that Succession Sage needed nerfs after last week's change. So last week's change, which hasn't hit NA yet, but has hit Korea, was that when Succession Sage uses Rift Chain off cooldown, you can see them now. So you can see where they're going to come out. And then you'll have a bit more of an opportunity to react or try to CC them or whatever. They're not just constantly invisible. And then this week on Global Lab, they're saying that when using Prime Rift Chain during the cooldown period, Super Armor has been changed to apply. So that sounds to me like you can no longer spam the iframe at all. You just get the iframe on cooldown, and the rest of the time, not only are you visible, but you also aren't invincible. You can be grabbed out of any of that, but you get grab resistance. So it's like it's like a little bit better super armor than normal, and you're moving around. It's interesting. It's if I'm reading it correctly, it's still a huge nerf from being able to spam the iframe, right?
You get 30% grab resist and 20 DP.
Yeah,
it seems like to me
it's like super armor.
So that feels like to me that's targeted towards large scale then. So you can't just iframe in the middle of a huge pack of people.
It's definitely a small scale too. I've been doing a lot of Suck Sages, and it's fucking cancerous, dude. If you don't have Solar Flare, good luck catching a Succession Sage, because you have to guess where they're going to come out. And like they pop out, they drop their cube, they go iframe again, and they just do it over and over and over again.
That should be a lot more enjoyable to play against, I think. Like, one, being able to see it, and two, being able to do it when it's not an iframe. I think, hopefully, that they make some type of animation change so that you can clearly tell when it's a super armor and when it's a iframe. Like, make it when
the iframe is still going to be invisible. So when the skill is off cooldown, which I think is 5 seconds or something like that, you use the skill, you are invincible and invisible. Then when the cooldown is off, or when the cooldown is up, and you're using it during the cooldown period, the skill has super armor. It has increased grab resist and increased DP, but you can see where they're at, and you could grab them with a decreased chance because their resistance is higher.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, I didn't understand that. Invisible still.
Overall, I think I'm okay with that. Like, they still get to use the iframe pretty often. They still get to get in and out of. I think it's still a pretty good disengage. I think, I mean, Succession Sage was just really abusive before this. And I think it's funny that in their little blue text, they talk about how even after they did the visual nerf to Rift Chain, they said the kill death ratio in large scale battles, including Red Battlefield. I don't know what that means. Maybe are they talking about Node War and Red Battlefield? They're saying large scale battles as if there's more than one.
They need to
type
stop
of
looking
those.
at Red Battlefield. Why fuck are
I think it's so funny. They're still using RBF KDA as an assessment of a class's balance, but nonetheless, they said it was 2.5 times higher than other characters in the game. So even though Red Battlefield is a really bad way of judging a class's balance, 2.5 times is still a fuckload higher. That's pretty crazy, dude.
And that's after the adjustment that they did on career.
Yeah, that's post nerf.
That's not even like what it was before they did the adjustments to the visual when it's off cooldown. Like that's crazy.
I'm just kind of going through the other suck changes here. I think these other nerfs are somewhat.
You can't just auto attack the air and fully stack your overdrive now, as from what I read from the
okay, I see.
So you can't just stand in place, auto attack the air, get your like 10% cast speed, then go in. Now you have to like actually, actually be connecting its spells. From the way it seems, if I'm interpreting this right.
Yeah, and they did some damage nerfs to void gateways and spatial collapse, which I don't know. Void gateways hits super hard, but it's also unprotected. That might be overkill given the other changes that were made. But honestly, I don't feel too bad for Succession Sages after how much they've been fucking griefing me in Node War for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, you had your fun.
Yeah, fuck them. But I wish that they would nerf Suck Whiz this hard. Could you imagine if Suck Whiz got this treatment instead of just like, oh, we took away one of your super armors? Like, wouldn't it be great if they actually gave us like a big chunk of, significant tone downs to Suck Whiz?
Yeah, I think one of the main problems that they are dealing with right now is they're too data driven. Like, you need to look at feeling and how the game feels to play first. And then once you identify a problem in how the game feels to play, then you look to data on how to solve that properly. Like, okay, this ability is doing, 90% of the killing. Oh, this ability is like, you look at data once you've identified a feeling of the game not being fun, whatever that might be. And that's the problem, is they're looking at data right now and not really judging that data from a feeling first.
Well, it's because none of the devs actually play the game enough to have like a subjective experience of what needs to be changed. They have to look at things like kill death ratios because that's all that's available to them.
It, though, is that you would think that they would be able to look at different like variables, right? So it's like, let's say if you have 200 people playing Sage in RBF and they still have 2.5 times higher kill death ratio than other classes, there's a problem. But if you have one guy that plays Awakened Maywa and he's like tearing it up, that doesn't mean that Awakened May was good, right? So it's like you would think they would be able.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens, is that everyone else who isn't an S tier Maywa has already quit Maywa. So there's no bad Maywas to int Maywa's KDA anymore. There's only good Maywas left, which then artificially increases their KDA, which then gives the developers bad data about the state of balance that Maywa is currently in.
Yep, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, I think like that's a really strong point, and like they need some way to categorize that differently, And it's obvious to us players because like people who participate in it, you just get blown up by a wizard over and over and over again. You're like, yeah, something needs to change here, fam. This ain't it. So, you guys will move on to the next thing, Global Lab.
I think the next thing was like they did some buffs to Awakening Sage. They gave him like 9% accuracy buff to one of his abilities.
Is that
it lasts 10 seconds after Radiant Annihilation.
You think it's more of a PvP thing? I didn't think that was much of an issue on him. I was grinding with him.
Well, so one of the main reason that makes Succession Sage so strong is that his fist drop cuts evasion by like 18%, right?
Wow.
And then he has that permanent 16% accuracy uptime for when he throws out what's that one ability? I forget what it's called. So not only do you have a really high accuracy buff, you can also debuff people by 18% evasion, and your skills innately have decent accuracy modifiers. So just building full AP, you can just 1 or 2 tap people that have C15, C20 evasion gear. So you're basically ignoring the protections.
I was distracted because I was just 1v2ing like a god. But so yeah, I've been actually playing a lot of Awakened Sage the last week, and there's a few things that are notable. First, you really have 0 iframes. And like the iframe that you do have is super armor, and then like a tenth of a second of iframe, and then more super armor. So you're never going to use, like with desync, you're never going to use that on purpose, right? Like you can't actually iframe a grab intentionally. You can get lucky with desync, but that's about it. All you can do is try to move out of the way and like hard dodge a grab. Most of the time you're just in super armor. You don't really have any actual invincibility on the class, so your ability to engage and disengage is pretty limited. I'm just gonna let him kill me this time. And also the skill can't be used off cooldown at all. So you have a 2-second super armor dash, but you can't really do much when it's off cooldown. You have shift Q that you can use to kind of jump in the air and get away, but it's got a really long wind up, so you're super vulnerable during that. So I mean, the class has a really interesting kit, but it's like staunchly missing sustained mobility. You have some burst mobility, and then once you use that up, you're just a sitting duck. Anyone with a grab can walk up and get you, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. However, the accuracy thing is interesting to me because I was pretty shocked at the amount of damage that I could do against like really stacked evasion builds. I've been walking around with Oasis weapons on this guy, so I have 278 awakened AP, and I've been able to one combo some like 380 DP strikers with Oasis weapons on, which is pretty fucking crazy. I mean, if I tried to do that on my warrior, I would get them to maybe 50-60% health.
Yeah, and the accuracy buff still carries over from pre-awaken, right? So like you could pop out that like 16% accuracy buff on pre-awaken, and you would still have it in awakening for like a couple seconds, right?
I haven't even been using the pre-awaken buff. I hardly ever switch to pre-awakening unless I like really need to disengage, because awakening doesn't have any disengages.
Wait, does this make Shy a lot less viable because of the 18% evasion debuff? Because like
Shy been kind of dead for a while now, in the sense that she's doing really bad for her doom spots, and they fixed her song storage bug that allowed her to like store songs and have almost permanent uptime on some of her songs.
Right.
So Shy's been,
well, I mean, you
she's
still have
been
the
pretty
DR
bad
side of
at
it,
it for a
but
while.
this seems like the only benefit you had was mainly your evasion debuff and your DR debuff, and now you have other classes that are basically comparable, aside from the DR percentage. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Shy does need some like attention though, for sure.
Yeah, like Sage could literally use the Norelio build with Often and Libers and still one-shot people, just because high evasion buff and low, or high evasion debuff and like high accuracy buff. You just does so much damage because of that. So Shy's evasion debuffing is kind of like pointless, honestly. Not actually pointless, but like Sage does all of that plus does damage, right?
With like Sage doing so much damage, do you guys think they're going to start doing like hybrid builds on Sage where it's like a little bit more evasion than normal?
I don't think it'll keep you alive. The class is, at least for Awakened Sage, the class is like really easy to catch and blow up. I don't feel like it has any inherent tankiness to it. But you do a lot of damage. I don't know. I feel like Glass Cannon's still just the way to go, just so you can do better like AoE trading and stuff.
For sure, because there's like no reason to build accuracy, because you have all that innate accuracy, and there's not really much point in building like giving up any AP. So you're more so building for that shotgun, right? Where you like get your accuracy buff up, zoom in, drop the fish, drop the block, use the flow, blow up like 5 people, and then hope that your super armor on the way out plus the grab resistance lets you escape. I still think that's probably going to be the best way to go, but I guess you never really know.
I've been waiting for them to add some kind of easier swap into pre-awakening so that we can use Rift Chain as an Awakened Sage to engage and disengage. That would kind of open things up a bit more. It doesn't really seem like they're doing that, but they did say something here about C-swapping being faster, so maybe you'll be able to like C-swap into Rift Chain. I'm not really sure without getting my hands on the patch yet. It's going to be hard to say how some of this plays out, but they did say that overcharged bolts, so overcharged dash basically can be used when it's off cooldown. So that means as long as I do another skill first and then cancel into my dash, I can now spam it. So that actually opens up a ton of options for movement and might kind of fix my overall gripe with how the class is just a sitting duck once your cooldowns are up.
I'm glad you like have been playing him, because I hardly ever see Awakened Sages, and like it's kind of weird to tell like if they should be damage or if they should be like what they should be doing, because it seems so like underwhelming compared to Succession.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with power creep in general in this game right now. Is you'll have a new class that comes out that's really strong, but since there's so many other things that are way over the top, overpowered, people don't really notice what's strong or what's even slightly overpowered because it's always being undershadowed. What am I trying to say? Yeah, overshadowed by something that's extremely overpowered. So, yeah, I don't know. If Suck Sage wasn't so abusive, then maybe Awakened Sage would be getting some more attention. But I don't feel like my damage in large scale is super crazy. I do feel like in 1v1 when I can lock someone down and grab them and cancel a bunch of skills on top of them, that I can do extreme amounts of damage. But I don't feel like I'm throwing out extreme amounts of damage in a large scale setting where I'm hitting 10 people at once. Because in that instance, I'm using more protected skills. I can't just stand on top of somebody and do like a 5 skill combo real fast, because I'll just get CC'd out of it.
Yeah, makes sense.
They are doing a couple things that are going to help in large scale, though. So one of the main skills you use is called Upsurge. It's a little like you can fast cast it, and it debuffs enemy knockdown resistance by 30%. And there's 2 different versions of it. One of it goes horizontally, like left to right from your character, and the other version goes forward. And they're changing it so that after using it after most of your main abilities, is going to send it forward instead of side to side. So that's going to make it way more useful as a large scale ability to get both more damage and to do like an AoE knockdown resist debuff. So I think that'll help a lot with the KD crystal meta, and just like allowing both you and your teammates to get more knockdowns and more bounds by throwing out that debuff. So that's definitely like an interesting, utility that they're giving the class as well, that I think will make a difference.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. I hope that they do these type of things as more of like, this is what makes this class unique, rather than becoming the new standard of every class gets super armor, and every class has knockdown resistance, or ignore knockdown resistance. Now every class has like bigger evasion debuffs. Like, I hope it's more of like just a unique thing for Sage, so that he has like a unique presence in the game rather than the new meta for class design. That's like my only concern with it.
I'm really curious on like why now, after so long, they decide to do some class rebalancing, especially because like back in December they took such a strong stance of like, we will not nerf any class, especially Witch Wizard. We will bring everybody up to their level. It kind of seems like they've finally realized that
Bro,
that
they
shit's
just
impossible.
say shit. They just say shit all the time. These devs never mean what they say. Do you remember when they said that they were never going to put crowd control on protected skills?
Yep.
They literally said that, dude. Like, come on.
And that was the main reason why they did that big giant sweeping class change of 2018.
They changed every class and took away all these protected CCs, and then they left it on Awaken, Witch, and Wiz. And then Succession came out, and all the Successions had protected CCs, and they went, oh shit, well, I guess we should put some protected CCs back on Awakening. And now we're back to where we were in 2016, except for Awakened Sage. As an Awakened Sage, I basically have 0 protected CCs, so thanks for that.
And then they're like, oh wait, shit, now other people feel left in the dark. Let's implement core skills. And with core skills, now everybody can have protected CCs.
I think that's
and the core skills are just the old CCs that they removed getting added back onto the skills that
literally.
It feels like we just like that single core skill patch felt like we went back 2 years in like PvP like bounce. It's like we just trashed all the progress we made in one patch.
Yeah, I would love to see behind the curtain at some point, man. It feels like there's a different PvP like lead designer in this game every 6 weeks. Either that or like there's multiple departments that are in charge of PvP and they're all patching simultaneously and just not talking to each other. It's so bizarre, like the way stuff gets implemented.
The craziest thing though is like the blue text.
Yeah.
It's like the blue text that gets me, where it's like they like the way they justify the things they do. Like how, what was it last week where they gave Ninja an extra 7% attack speed on his attack speed steroid? Like, why? Like, and then they say stuff like, "Oh, this class isn't able to keep up with the way the game has progressed." It's like, what do you mean? Have you not seen? And then there was the one with Sork where they're like, "Well, this class is not dealing the damage that it used to do as gear progresses in the game." And I'm like, isn't that true for all classes in a way though? Like, as people get more gear, you do less damage. I don't know. It's kind of, they do really weird like justifications with the blue text.
Yeah.
A
I do
lot
think
of
the blue text
feelings-based
is
balance.
good. I do think the blue test is good because that allows like the players say you're being stupid or not, and then that allows them to kind of like reconsider their position on like how they're judging player feedback. And
I'm definitely glad they're giving the blue text for sure.
I think it's good.
100%.
I think that's a really, really positive change. Even if it does make no sense sometimes.
I'm gonna have to try so hard to win the trial tournament so that I can be part of the Adventurers Roundtable. Have you guys seen that?
Such a dumb idea. So people who are good at PvP know how to balance games now?
So there's going to be 22 people from the regular tournament and 22 people from the trial tournament that all are part of a roundtable. I don't know how that's going to work. That sounds like there's basically going to be a Google form that you get to submit that goes straight into the shredder once a week. But I don't know. Maybe there's 44 different class balance teams that are all going to, or 22 different class balance teams that are all going to sit down and have a meaningful conversation with the Adventurers Roundtable. But I kind of doubt it.
How are like people even going to suspend their own biases as well, right? Like,
it's like
kinda,
so the winner of the Warrior tournament, what do you think about the current state of Warrior? Well, I think it should be buffed. Oh, okay, interesting. So now we have the winner of the Berserker tournament. What do you think about the current state of Berserker? Well, I think Berserker should be buffed. Oh, thank you for the feedback. Okay, next class. Like, what are they expecting?
Yeah, it does make sense. It really doesn't. I mean, and honestly, like, you're getting a extremely one-sided story because you're not getting the perspective of people who don't have another player class or are less skilled. You're getting a extremely one-sided opinion on it, which I think is good for like if you're trying to make it a competitive game. But there's way too many other issues in the game right now to even start considering something like that. And it's like, again, like, are they like, why is this PvP focus so huge right now? It's like you're getting people that are going to be good at 1v1s, but like you're going to get feedback for node wars because all the changes they're making right now are for node wars. So it just every single thing of it doesn't make any sense to me. And we already saw what happened to like the roundtable in like Korea, right? They had like everybody had a representative for every class, and we got like Striker got buffed by like a bazillion times. Moose is still like weak, as like nothing came good of it. They had a roundtable for like.
I mean, I like to think that some of the changes that they're doing now are let me believe, okay? Like the DK changes where they like patched up some of the gap in one of her iframes, and they added super armor to Twilight Dash and added a little damage to one of their other abilities. Like I feel like some decent things could come from it, maybe, but
yeah, I actually think overall them listening to the Korean roundtable has led to much better results than the devs just balancing on their own. I can't remember the specific changes, but there was some stuff, especially with Warrior, that like clearly came from them actually listening to feedback from Warrior players. But I don't know. I don't remember how those players were chosen. Was that also from a tournament?
They did the exact same tournament in Korea. Where it's like the fight to decide who's the best.
Interesting.
Well, they did this tournament is basically, that's where they got that idea from. They had the same tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you're just rolling the dice though, right? Like you're I don't think there's any correlation between being the best 1v1er who's spent the most hours in Battle Arena and actually having a good head on your shoulders for game design. I don't think those two things are connected in the slightest. So you're basically just rolling the dice that whoever becomes your representative will give good feedback that's going to, make its way to the devs in a way that makes sense and gets implemented. So maybe I'm sure for some classes it'll go well, and for some classes it'll go horribly wrong, and we'll just have to see.
I do think it's good for class balance overall. I do think there has been some good positives there, and maybe I should take back what I said about this being negative, because I guess the thing that I think about and what bothers me most about it is like class balance is not what's making BDO bad, and it's not what's making it good. Like that's not going to solve or make the game successful, because the rules of PvP are the issues. Like the rules of open world PvP, there's no like ranked arena, there's no like all these things are like issues that don't relate to balancing classes, and something that a roundtable that's designed for balancing classes can't really fix.
I think balance is a part of the issue, but you're right. The vast majority of it is the PvP incentives and modes themselves. Balance is like 10% of the problem. The other 90% is just a lack of incentives, a lack of interesting modes, a lack of reason to care about your outcomes, and just a lack of like mechanics in those modes that are fun. Change RBF to like a objective based mode, make Node Wars have like get rid of this HP mechanic in T1s. Like there's so many things that we've said over and over again that they could do that would make PvP in the game feel actually meaningful. Ranked arenas, seasonal titles, et cetera, like the stuff that they're talking about doing for the sheriff system, but still won't do for ranked 1v1s or 3v3s. So I don't know, like maybe one thing will lead to another. Maybe if we just keep hammering for long enough, they'll a light bulb will go off.
Yeah, I think that would be like they've already done this in Korea, and there was some success, like you guys pointed out. So maybe like they'll get some more ideas from this and go to the next stage. Maybe like, okay, well, what's next after this? We've tried this twice now. How do we continue improving past here? And like maybe this is like just maybe the thing that comes after this will be even better. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'm definitely curious, because I think anybody who's been playing BDO for the last 2 years has seen how big of a difference the game is. They've done so many things I've never done before, as far as like player feedback, like listening to that, like protected area got nerfed, of all things, Wizard and Witch, slow stacking, like there's a lot of things that are fundamentally never would have happened like a year ago even. So I do think I am pretty hopeful for it.
But yeah. I'm mostly curious to see. So they said that there was going to be a big PvE balancing patch for next week's Global Labs, and that's what I'm more so interested in, because with PvP I understand that like there's never going to be balance in PvP unless you make every class virtually the same and kind of like get rid of a lot of individual identity of classes. But PvE I feel is 100% something that can strike some semblance of a balance, even if it's like adjusting this by 3%, adjusting that by 3%, because we already know that they can change PvE damage without affecting PvP. So I'm really curious to see if they're gonna like either bring Suck Striker and Suck Lawn down, or maybe Hash down, and bring up classes like Awaken Mewa or God forbid Tamer or something like that.
I'm happy they're doing the changes, like the next week's PvE changes, but I am honestly so tired of working on my PvE tier list. That keep me so busy, bro. They don't do any changes in PvE for literally years, and now I make a PvE tier list, and like it's literally every like 2 weeks I'm like pulling out my hair here trying to keep it updated. I don't know.
Well, even if they weren't patching, people would still constantly bitch at you about the position of every class, so you can take that as some comfort.
True. What do you think are the current weak PvE classes?
Tamer? ?
Tamer, Shy, Awaken Mewa.
Tamer Awakening is almost in a good spot. It is really close. Or no, Tamer Succession. I mean, Tamer Succession. It can pull.
I've never seen a Succession Tamer in my life. I have no input.
It can pull up to 5,600 trash in Sakurai now, which is still needs some love, but that is a huge improvement over like 4,000. So I think it's definitely getting there.
I don't know. I think Kerr's the only one who would have any
Dude,
idea.
I'm not. I can't touch it, dude. I'm too passionate. I'm too passionate, dude.
So this week's video patch. I don't even remember what we got this week. I'd have to hold on. I have to bring up the notes.
Oh yeah, the Kutum, Thunderstorm Kutum.
Oh yeah, Thunder Kutum. Have you guys done Thunder Kutum yet?
No, I've just been grinding Baragi Den. I'm behind on my trash loot for the week, my goal, so I've just been grinding here the entire time. I do like the mechanics of it though, and I've heard good things.
Have you
I've heard good things about it too,
and it looked kind of interesting. I haven't like been to it myself, but I was watching someone on stream that went to it.
I hear he eats her crystals. Is the new Kron Moth.
Dude, all of these new bosses, like just crystal death.
I just can't get invested in bosses. What they need to add a DPS meter on the bosses and then reward people based on their output and make it like like everyone can see who's top damage and you're competing the whole time and you're actually incentivized to do the mechanics and like incentivized to play on your main and not die. I don't know. They just need to raise the stakes on bosses again. I remember like
F to S.
Yeah.
And then if you get an S, you get guaranteed adventures belongings or something like that.
So, I mean, not guaranteed, but it definitely so there's already a system. We know this. So this has been data mined. There's already a system where the top 40 or something like that get boosted loot, and then the top 70 have a tier of loot, and then like everyone below that has the third tier of loot. So there's already weighted roles, but you just have no idea where you're at or where you're performing compared to other players. The game doesn't give you any feedback. If there was a meter on the screen that said like the number 1 player and the number 2 player, et cetera, you'd constantly be like min-maxing your skill rotation and trying to position correctly and trying to like stay on top of whatever the new mechanics of that boss are so that you can get the best rewards and so you could flex on the meters too, right? Like it wouldn't even have to be better rewards. People would do it just to flex on the meters.
Seeing your name up there being number 1, you'd be
like, oh, dude,
that's me.
We need carrots to chase, dude. Even simple stuff like that, honestly.
Well, one thing that Sherna and Trent, the CMs of consoles, what they actually commented on this, saying that confirming the 3 tiers of loot like that, and they also said that looking at your hunter seals that you get from the world boss is an indicator of what your damage is.
I mean, they already did. That wasn't even data mined. That was something that they came out and said the first time that they did the boss change. This was like 2-3 years ago, where they first did the change to like the way the boss loot tables worked. Because like Potion just said, you can test where you fall in that percentage by how many hunter seals you get.
I do think that's pretty poor though, because it's not active feedback. You have to wait until you kill the boss to actually know where you placed. And I feel like having a more active feedback, like maybe you get hunter seals in your inventory as you go for the more damage you do, or like you said, on-screen DPS meter, I think would probably be the best case. But yeah, I think it's just making what's already there visualized in the UI in some way.
Yeah, I just remember the old like world boss days where the loot was like super important and you wanted to make sure you got the best drops possible. So you would always take your main, you would always risk your crystals, you would always do the mechanics and avoid dying. And like because your crystals were at risk, the fight was really intense. You didn't want to get smacked in the face by Beg, but you had to perform as good as possible so that you could try to get a drop. And then Rangers would just AFK and get all the loot anyways.
What do you guys?
I don't know. I miss that shit.
What do you think of the
Except for the Ranger
Kutum
part.
Heart thing? The new Kutum Heart. It's like an alchemy stone where you can activate it 50 times, and it does like a sage type of lightning skill. Comes from the sky.
I haven't seen how powerful it is yet. Has anyone actually seen it in action?
I originally saw one on Global Lab. Like I think I saw like a couple of it on Global Lab or something.
Someone linked one in the partner Discord that they got one from the first one, but I haven't seen anyone like actually use it to see like how if it does decent damage. I know it does a burst of damage and it like debuffs DP, right?
I want to know if it CCs or not, because I think that's like the big indicator. If you just go into a big, GVG and you pop that thing, and can you CC 50 people or something?
I don't think it's CCs. I think it's like a AoE damage and AP debuff or something.
But yeah, I want to see something for it. Like, I think that's the main thing is I don't know if I won it or not, and that's what they need to convince me. Like, if it was something where you could go for like a couple hours at Crypto Wrestling Thoughts and make like 1 billion silver in a couple hours, I think that'd be worth it. Like, I don't know, like it seems interesting, but it's hard for me to evaluate if it's how good it is. Maybe it'll be something that we find out in like a month or two when people have a few and test it out in Node Wars.
I don't know. Someone's saying it doesn't work in PvP. It's hard to say.
Really?
What? What's the whole point of getting it then? No one's gonna go to.
Looks cool.
Let's see. It has 50 charges.
I guess it's a collector item. I guess
it has 50 charges. I mean, and you can use it 50 times. So you could use it for 1 hour of grinding. I don't know anybody who would go to Kutum every week for an item that would increase your grind by, for only 1 hour.
Well, I think that's might be all it does.
kind of weird, dude. That's kind of odd.
Kind of weird.
Why? What the fuck?
Yeah,
I was thinking it was this like big AoE shockwave that you could use in PvP and like do some damage and debuff people. Damn.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking like whole guilds would like try to go and dominate a server and get 1 or 2 of them for like a node war,
Dude, imagine. That would be.
Yeah.
We need some of that in BDO.
Because like if you it just seems like one of those things where you have to coordinate anyway to get the activity completed and increase your odds of getting it. So it's better for everyone in your guild to go there so you have a higher chance of accomplishing it on the same channel. I mean, it just seems like a natural tendency of things. So if it not being able to be used in like Siege or Node Wars feels like a huge oversight.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if it was going to be a PvP item, they should make it as like an attachment that goes on to your Alkstone instead of a completely different Alkstone altogether. It's the Alkstone system right now seems weird to me. I wish that like Vels and these other Alkstones that you get were reforms that you could put on your Alkstone rather than a completely separate item.
Yeah, so you get like a protection, resplendent protection, and add Vels to it.
Yeah, you could add Vels to your resplendent, attack or protection or whichever one you wanted to use.
It kind of make more sense anyway because then
you could add Kutum onto it if you wanted to do that. Like, yeah, I just making it a completely different item seems weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea, but the execution, if it really is PvE only, is kind of lackluster.
Yeah, it has to be a really big carrot on the stick to go to a world boss nowadays.
Now, if you could use it on 50 packs and it would just one shot 50 packs, all right, now we're talking. Okay, I can get behind that. But if it's just like a little AoE thing, it's that is a little lackluster, I guess. Maybe it's better than I think.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to wait a couple weeks. I'm sure somebody will figure out some crazy way of using it. I want to see if someone's going to like Ash Forest and is one-shot the mobs there with it.
Does it scale with Elvia? Because what if you got an Elvia weapon and then turned the Alkstone on and just went around Super Saiyan, one-shot lightning golem everything on the screen? That could be Pog.
Ooh.
That could be pretty fun, dude.
Yeah. There's some potentials there. At the very least, I could see some really fun YouTube videos being come out, or like crazy trash with, look, I got 20,000 trash loot. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'll probably try it out sometime this week. The other things they added this week is they fixed emergency escape. I guess assumedly for
Did they
Arena of Varsha. Well, you can't. You
could wait. V? Like, do you mean escape or just V?
Yeah, no V.
Yeah,
okay.
Escape. I think I said it wrong. Yeah, V got you can't extend it anymore with flagging up in the duration, like when you're in V.
That's such weird spaghetti code though. That in the first place that you could pop V and then flag up to extend it by a couple more seconds. Like, that's so weird, dude.
And I haven't really done any PvP to know if the invisibility got fixed or not. Did the invisibility actually get fixed, or did they say it get fixed?
I mean, It sounds like they probably fixed V extension and the invisible grab shit that people were doing in the tournaments. There's so many other problems with V that I'm still skeptical that there's not going to be other ways that people can still break this. V already, just like whether you try to extend it or exploit it or not, already breaks like half the time. And you have like phantom V players who are, just sitting on, like lying on the ground in front of you, invincible for, the duration of the V. And like, there's so many weird things that happen to it. I just feel like they should just fucking literally just scrap it and recode it from the start.
Yeah, probably better. Yeah, because what was it? You can get grabbed, and then on your screen they're in V and invisible, and on their screen they're getting grabbed, and so you can't do follow-up damage, and then they can't move.
Yeah, so many things that go wrong with it, and like there's so many visual bugs that are associated with V when it doesn't work.
I don't think there's been an iteration ever where V didn't have a bug, because the original V bug was where when you're coming out of V, if you spam strafe left or right, you could dodge the stun by strafing left or right. And that was a thing for like 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think the idea is pretty good. The next thing I hope they fix is escape, because that was never intended to be a function of PvP. The fact that people use that in the middle of PvP, it's like you have to do V, then escape, and if the PvP fight goes on again long enough, then they have to V a second time, and then you actually get to kill the person. And I find that whole process extremely frustrating.
Do you guys think that like that kind of swayed any of the matches in the tournament that's happened over the last month?
Hugely.
The V thing? Oh yeah, it literally decided a large portion of matches. I think every single Valkyrie who won. No, I'm exaggerating, but yeah, like it was all over the place. There, you could practically make a montage out of how many times it got abused during the tournament.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't like forfeit winnings for people who were using it. Like they take a slightly harsher stance. But yeah, I know maybe because it's so public. There's like, yeah, sweep it underneath the rug. Nothing to see here. I mean, there's some V bugs are fixing.
Been in the game for years. You gonna punish people for it now? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's true. The but yeah, if they fix escape next, I hope that's what the next target is. They kind of like realize that there's more things here being abused. Maybe fix that. So you can't escape when you're in PvP?
I think if you escape during PvP, your character should be teleported to the Heidel Storage Keeper, and you should be locked above a Marigo in one of those like medieval style casing things, where that they used to use to humiliate people. And everyone in Heidel should get to throw rotten fruit at you for 15 minutes.
Oh, the things where like your arms are through and your head's through? Yeah. Oh, shit.
Absolutely.
Instead of coming out at the nearest note, you should come out in one of those little arm headlock things in the middle of Heidel.
Stocks,
the stocks, exactly.
Yep, I totally agree. That makes a lot of sense. Honestly, that's how they should punish people who are like negative or maximum notoriety. They should just teleport them to do that same thing also. That'd be pretty solid. Sage got core skills, Sage got Black Spirit Rage, and Sage got Elvia ability. The Elvia ability is actually pretty cool. I like it. It has a weird follow-up for it, but it's pretty solid damage.
Core skills are decent. There's a couple of them that put bounds on your big, like, large-scale skills, and then there's some forward guards that are really useful for 1v1. So yeah, overall, I think the core skills are pretty good. The BSRs, I like the 50% BSR. I haven't figured out a use for the 10 or the 25. They both seem very, very like weird and like hyper situational.
Mm-hmm. The forward F on your core bolt, I thought was really strange because you only get forward guard on the very first one.
It's still super strong though, because you're using that skill to initiate so often, and you can block all kinds of shit. It makes a huge difference in 1v1. That's the one that I use for 1v1 because it's like a 7-second cooldown. You're fishing for stiffens with that all the time because it's a stiffen that you can also dash to follow up. So you're just using that on cooldown, and when it's a much less risky play now to fish for that every 7 seconds. And then if it lands, you just dash in and grab, and it's a really strong engage. So yeah, I like that one a lot for 1v1.
I like his mobility. Like his mobility is freaking awesome. Where you throw the one ability you throw out, and you can just like zip dash around, like ping pong around. I really like that ability.
You get caught out of it all the time, though. If somebody knows what they're doing, like that's why the forward guard on the first one at least gives you some cover.
I like it because noobs in PvP that are bad as I am have no idea how it works. So I can get them from a mile away with it.
Yeah, against someone who doesn't know what a sage can do, it's hilarious because they're just constantly confused and getting stunned from range, and you're just dashing around them. But if they have half a brain, all they have to do is just do like an AoE bound while you're dashing at them, and you fall over.
What was it? There was something else I was going to say about that. I can't remember what it was. There's something about one of the core skills. I can't remember.
I use bound on Shift L and B for large scale. The problem with Shift Q is like half the time you're using it to escape rather than to engage, and it has a really long cooldown. So I didn't think that one was very useful. And it says it only bounds on the second hit, which is kind of weird. On Shift L and B, it's a really long animation, and it just says bound on hits. So that sounds like you can bound someone throughout the duration of the skill. So that sounds stronger. I mean, it could just be a bad tooltip, but that's the one I've been going with in large scale because that's pretty much your only protected CC in large scale is if you can put a bound on the Shift LNB.
Do you guys think he's gonna get the Awakened Nova treatment right, or like they tweak it here and there and get to try to find some kind of end goal or like balance, I guess? Like, do you think Awakened Nova's PvP is in a good spot now after those tweaks they did like 2 months after its release?
Awakened Nova's in a great spot. I think it's just there's certain meta classes right now. It's Suckwiz and Suck Sage that are so overpowering that even if a class is A tier, it just who cares, right? It's not triple S tier. Fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the same thing's true in PvE for like between Succession and Awakening in a lot of classes. Like, why would you ever pick Awakening Striker? It's really strong in PvE from what I've heard, but no one picks it because Succession Strikers is so much better. And it's the same degree in PvP in a lot of formats, I feel like.
I like that Succession Sage is so broken because no one's playing Awakening, and as a result, maybe the devs will accidentally buff Awakening too much, and then I'll be huge.
So like, have we been going about it all wrong? Like we've been writing these like manifestos on problems they could fix. Is the real answer to just get a bunch of people on the same class and just go karma bot like feed in RBF to get buffs?
Yes. Wait, unironically, yes. Yeah, if we combined our powers as streamers and just got thousands of people to go int in RBF on these classes, I think we could fix the game.
Can we get together like 600 Awakened Mewas and just
we'd have to get other regions in on it too, though. We'd have to get some Korean streamers, we'd have to get some South America. Like we'd have to really team up. This would have to be a global unified effort.
I think we can actually make that happen.
We might be onto something, dude.
Like, unironically, I think we can legitimately make that happen.
Because, I mean, they literally admitted multiple times that they're balancing based on KDA in RBF and in large scale
They say it every week. It's so cringe. They talk about RBF KDA every time they fix a class.
It's the least.
Might be onto something, dude.
Like, what? It's probably like less than 1% of 1% actually do Red Battlefield. And then on top of that, it's extremely skewed. Yeah, I don't know. We might have to try that out, to be honest. I think we probably should.
Yeah, I think it could be pretty funny.
Even if it's just for the memes, it could be some good laughs out of it.
Noticed
honestly.
With the most recent Melee Twins that Melee's doing way worse, so we give it some additional buffs. Oh gosh. So you can now instant cancel worker task, which I think is a huge quality of life because
bro. I remember begging this way back in the day.
It's really nice now that you don't have to wait for 12 hours for your fisher workers to get done fishing, so you can go put them on corn.
Bro, I was trying to uninvest my stars in node for like 2 weeks straight. Because like with the Doom, I have like over 1,000 black or the masses, and they just keep stacking up. So I was like, okay, I'll put the CP somewhere else. Well, I would stop them from working. Well, the Stars End cycle has like 12 hours. Well, then I would come back the next day and I would forget, and I'd feed my workers and hit repeat. So I went through that cycle like for a long time. So it's nice that they finally added that.
Dude, when I was trying to test like data for different nodes, and I had to wait for a worker to stop before I could like put him on a different node to get more. Oh my god, it made the process take like 10 times longer than it otherwise should have.
Yeah, that was the most frustrating thing for me. Is same as what you had, Curtis. I would cancel a worker, and then I would come back after sleeping, be like, all right, time to. I was playing. I was like, I'll reset him, and then I would always forget every single time. Come back, feed workers, repeat, and then immediately afterwards, I'm like, oh, I forgot about the one I was trying to cancel, and then same thing again the next day. So really good quality of life. You can also name workers now. Jordan named a worker after every single streamer, so make sure yeah, he was going through it, named every single one of his workers after a streamer.
Which node am I on? I'm going to take this very personally.
I don't know. I maybe put you on a goblin.
If Moro isn't on chicken meat, then you're kind of.
Oh, you what node? Oh, yeah.
He's chicken meat. Dude.
Do you still have that chicken meat pre-order in your mail?
Do the first chicken meat pre-order.
Has anybody put Blade Boquez on Ancient Stone Chamber yet?
Somebody came into my stream and made that joke before I had read the patch notes, and I was just like,
really?
what is this 2017 joke? Like, what are you talking about right now? And then I read the patch, and I was like, oh, okay, I feel bad for roasting this guy now.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing. I like it because it allows you to kind of organize your workers, and like this one's the one for trade crates. This is the one for like different activities. This is costume worker in Caltheon. I allow it because that way it makes it a little bit easier for you to organize and remember what's what, so you don't accidentally get rid of a good worker. So good quality of life for both things that changed to workers this week. Now, if they can just give us some actually good worker nodes, then we'll be set.
That's on the horizon. I keep thinking they might actually do a worker overhaul with all these quality of life worker changes they've been sneaking in.
I mean, there's supposed to be trade rework coming second half of 2021, right? I mean,
really?
I mean, so they say, quote, quote.
I feel like the best thing to summarize that entire thing up is when the lead developer gets on and he's like, we aren't sure if we want to do a trading update, but we think we might do one later in the year. It's like maybe, possibly. How much do you want it?
We're considering thinking about it.
Yeah, I hope they actually do start working on some life skills. But I feel like right now they have I feel like the entire economy is just on the fritz because all the accessories are on the marketplace because of dark rifts and events. There's none from actually like grinding aside from like the top end grind spots.
But it's also like a weird split though, because like any piece of gear that's Tet Disto or below is going down in price. But any piece of gear that's like pin and above is going up in price, right? So it's like a split.
Well, it's just because it's so hard to make it a big fail stack for pin. If making you need like a 250 stack or 200 stack for every single pin.
There's super arbitrary price distinction for pin because people can't get the stacks for pin, but they can get the stacks for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Scamatu boxes. Anybody? How much have you guys spent?
After seeing you get railed on,
I'm only down like 30%.
I think I've probably spent 300 million or something like that. So
to be fair, all right, you made up a lot of that profit the other day. You were down pretty bad at one point, but then you had a pretty decent string of like making some on some of the boxes.
Well, the life boxes are always decent, and then the combat boxes are where I get fucking railed. So if I were to only buy the life boxes, I think I would have broken even or maybe even been a little bit ahead.
Yeah, one day you got like a regular monastery and a pry like back to back. I was like, what in the world is this? I only get memory fragments.
Yeah, which is still barely enough to break even.
That reminds me, I made a Tip Black Star this week, Moro. Moro was trying to make one for his Sage, and I decided I was going to make one, and it took me 30 clicks for Tet. 30. But I did make a 200 fail stack, so it was kind of worth it.
Yeah, that's good stacks.
Yep.
Such nice stack building, dude.
And even after that, I made 4 billion silver. And the reason being is because I used all the free fail stacks they've given me over the last year, because I don't ever do enhancing normally. And they gave me 300 artist memories over the last year. And so I just used all those materials, and so I made 4 billion profit, even though I took me 30 clicks, and I got a 200 fail stack out of it. So now I have a stack for Deboreka
That's like
eventually.
most of the reason I enhance Black Stars is just because it's a way to get high stacks.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, speaking of enhancing, I want Pentungrat rings, but the price skyrocketed. They were 60 bill a month ago. Now they're 90 plus. It's crazy. Just in 1 month. Like, I don't know. I guess that's Hadoom inflation or something, but it's crazy how high the price. Like, even pin crescents are 50 bill, right?
I was always surprised the prices went down in the first place. I don't really understand why they went down. Like, I don't know what was like the contributing factor. Was people getting 100 stacks and clicking it?
Yeah, 100 stacks. The free 100 stacks have a huge downward pressure on the price of accessories. Although, ironically, base accessories will sometimes go up while TED accessories are going down because everybody's just buying to enhance.
Yeah, true. You think that's happening during the event? During the Shakatu boxes? People are getting bases and then buying another base to smash it?
Yeah, or they're getting prize and tries and smashing those.
What else is in here? Oh yeah, so Histria, old school main rotation, not 7 Elton, but old school main rotation, got completely changed. The middle structure is completely different, and they added a few mobs to every pack. So it's like 1 or 2 more
Histria
mobs.
buffs?
Yeah, I don't think
2021?
I don't think it's a big enough change where if you've not been there in a while, you probably won't notice it. But apparently, it's just, a few more mobs here and there, and they changed the old school main rotation where it looks different now. So, not really sure what brought this on. I'm kind of thinking maybe this relates to the Histria dungeon that they're working on, and maybe they're trying to make the theme between Histria and the new dungeon kind of similar.
They're modeling the group dungeon after Histria. They like
Ataraxion or whatever.
Yeah, they showed a trailer for it in Sage Awakening. In the background of Sage Awakening at the very end, they have the Valencian dungeon, and it shows Histria mobs and 2 new mobs that aren't from Histria, but they look similar. Like, one's like a rhinoceros Histria mob, and the other one looks like the big dude with a sword and shield, but he's like amped up on like some type of drug, it looks like.
Oh, dude, I love when they give meth to the mobs in this game.
But yeah, so I'm wondering if the changes to Histria are kind of been inspired because they were just trying to make things a little bit more similar between there and the new dungeon, and just kind of a byproduct of that. Not really sure.
I'm not sure either.
I like the moral in theory where it's like one guy wants to get something in for the week to justify his pay. So he's like, hold up, dude. Let me put 2 mobs in this pack and let's move this little pillar to the left.
Honestly, I kind of wonder, especially after reading like some of the class balances where, it's like, I changed this, right? It makes me think if they just have a whole bunch of these random guys are working on like one little project just by themselves, and they just have to justify what they're doing every week.
I did this is such a legendary patch note quote.
Did the guild changes get implemented where it costs to have a guild deck up? Did that happen?
I think so.
I don't think. Okay, I was wondering because they have
not yet. I don't know if Korea got it last week because they got pretty much everything else that happened in that patch with like the class changes and stuff. I'm not sure if they actually went through.
I was curious because they have a inventing here where you get additional guild funds for doing guild missions or something. It's like a guild quest. And
Nabron says that Nabron confirmed that Korea got it. They got the where you have to pay to keep guild deck up.
Womp womp.
Gross. What the flip?
Let's talk about it. I was wondering though because they have a guild event this week where you can do some guild missions and you get extra guild funds, And they also added a new guild skill, which decreases the construction time of annexes and structures, I believe. Which I think is interesting.
Yeah, which is pretty pog.
Yeah. I like the idea that they're adding more things for skill points for the guild, because right now, I mean, guilds can get so many ludicrous amounts of skill points through the hunting of sea monsters and stuff that it's just not even comparable now to what it used to be. Like, back in the day, 300 was like, wow, you really worked hard on that, didn't you? Yeah, we did. Nowadays, you have like 1,000. You're like, we just did it on accident, you know? Killed a few sea monsters.
Yeah, I remember grinding skill points on my Xbox guild when that first came out, and it was like super satisfying. Everyone wanted to do guild missions, like get the AP and accuracy and everything, and then you max it out, and it's like, okay, well, we're never going to think about this ever again. So yeah, I think it's about time that they add like some new objectives and new things for guilds to work towards together. I mean, that's the best part of an MMO, is like when you and your guild are working on something collaboratively. So
absolutely,
yeah, why not?
I'm really happy that they're adding more things for it. And I think there should always be something to work on. I feel like it should be almost like a choice what you want. Between life skilling or combat or whatever. It should be more of like, I feel like, a choice between it rather than like you get to pick everything. I don't really like the pick everything option. I feel like it takes away some of the uniqueness of every guild.
I think a lot of the guild like feeling has kind of faded away over time in a lot of places, especially with like the murking out and murking into guilds. And
yeah, it doesn't give you a sense of a home when you can just go to any guild any week and you're playing with different people every weekend, you know, or every weekday when you're being a mercenary.
Yeah,
true.
You know, it doesn't mean anything if you say I'm Black Rose when every week you're fighting in some scrub guild. So, let's see here. Rich Merchant Ring notification. I kind of thought this was already a thing. Kind of surprised they're adding this into the game at such a late. I mean, there's some people who have like 4 pieces to the Rich Merchant Ring. So kind of surprised they're adding this notification in now. But I guess better late than never.
The wording was really funny. They said there would be like a somewhat notable, like something somewhat special would happen.
Isn't there already one though? Because didn't Good Vibes guy like put one, like spawn one, and then it did like the server message?
That was just a regular server message though.
Oh, okay. They mean like a specialized like
one at the top of the screen.
I don't know. It said somewhat special, I think was the way they described it. So
maybe it's gonna be something that happens on all servers. So if someone gets in Korea, then all servers will get the notification. Maybe that'd be kind of cool. Because as far as I know, no one's gotten in the entire world, right?
No, but apparently they're the closest guy is an EU player who's at 4 out of 5.
Yeah, the only person I know that has it, or people, is like there's like 2 in Russia, right? But you know, Russia's kind of.
The one of the things that people are saying is the 5th piece. We don't know for sure that it drops at Crypto Resting Thoughts. There's like a hint they gave us, and we're assuming the hint means Crypto Resting Thoughts, but no one's gotten it there. No one's ever gotten a piece there, so it's sort of like unproven that that's the correct answer to the question.
Yeah, there's a couple people on EU actually that have gotten the piece from Crypto Resting Thoughts.
Really? Oh, I thought nobody had gotten it yet.
Yeah, and Bio's currently grinding there for it as well. Yeah, it's just like super swingy. So there's some people that got it within like a couple hours. Like one guy got it in an hour, and then Bio's been there for like probably like 100 now.
Gosh, that's some choice level Compass RNG right there.
That reminds me of like back in 2016 when no one could grind Histria, and we went there and spent like 5 minutes killing one mob just to see how strong the mobs were, and Orca got a compass piece.
Wow. Yeah, it used to be I remember people used to have History as like a secret grind spot, because you could still make really good trash loot like on a Sork going in there. And so people were using that as like a secret Sork like trash loot spot for like 50 mil an hour, and people like, you know, they wouldn't tell anybody like, where are you grinding to make all that money? You're like, oh, I can't tell you, bro. I can't tell you where it's at.
This was still like a 10 mil an hour days when like Valencia was new and we were all potatoes. Just like 150.
Yeah, I remember something like that. I just remember people like sneaking in there. And there was like somebody who had like a wizard in there one time, and they're like, wait, you can grind there in a wizard? Like, shh, don't tell anybody, bro. I kind of like that. That's sort of the feeling I get from like Crypt Resting Thoughts right now, because like Crypt is so exclusive that not all classes can grind there. You have to kind of be an overpowered class in a very specialized way. So I
Your
find it
class
kinda
has to have an accuracy buff or a really nice evasion buff for sure, just to even like
cool.
do okay.
Yeah, was it Valkyrie, Shy, and I don't know.
Sage.
Yeah, Sage. There's only not very many can go there. I tried grinding there on Zerker on the Global Lab server with like maxed out everything gear, and it's not a thing. Take you like 10 minutes to kill one little pack. Let's see, Thunderstorm Kutum, we already talked about that, and I actually like this change a lot. So they made it where the bonus quest you get from Alchemy, instead of having to go and like do some menial quest for Alston, you actually go to Alston's apprentice, and every day she's in a random capital city. So you have to kind of like search around a little bit, probably with some different ults.
God.
And then once you go there,
like this?
once you do that, it's auto completed though. So there's no actual. The quest is actually finding her, and there's no additional quest. So you just get the bonus quest, find where she's at, and then you're done. So like if she's,
They really don't want alchemy to be good, dude. With cooking, you literally get the mission and then you do it, and then you just hop on an alt standing next to the NPC and turn it in.
well, the thing is, you
So
can you can leave an ult in every city, or if the ult's already in like your home city, right? You can just wait until she comes back around to your home city, and then you might have it, and you just go and turn it in. So if you're like a more casual player, you don't even look for it. You just wait until it comes to back to your city. And then if you're like a hardcore player, then you have all the ults out there. I like it because it has a little bit of... It's better than us going to Alston and doing some boring quest. It's better than that. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's better than that. And I like that kind of feature. And I also like it because it's like...
Interesting.
I kind of like it because it gives a little bit of variety to the game. So you might find her... Like I found her in Caltheon one day. And then I was like, who's this? And I talked to her, got the knowledge. The next day she's in like High Dell. I'm like, oh, cool. And it's like, I like that kind of like aspect where every day the game is changing a little bit. You know, not in any significant way. But it's just like a
Do you
small
like
change.
when Tecthon goes to sleep at night?
I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I don't think it's good or bad. But they have...
Oh man, he said it.
But the other they have an alternative in the city, right? They have another NPC you can go to and do all that stuff. So you don't need
There's another repair NPC. There's not another NPC for extraction.
Oh yeah, I don't know about that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I feel like things where the game's constantly changing in small ways that are not annoying is healthy, because otherwise this feels mundane. Like I think it'd be really cool if like Techron had a different place at nighttime. So at nighttime you go to one place, during daytime you go to his main base. So I think that'd be like a much better iteration of that rather than he just disappears permanently. But I like the change. I like it where there's diversity in gameplay, because you know it's the same thing with grind spots. The reason Elvia is really cool is because you get Elvia weapons, and you might get 8 Elvia weapons in an hour. You might get none. You might get 3 or 4 mechanics that hour. Next hour you might get only 1, and that kind of diversity makes it a lot more enjoyable, other than this like Hystria or Sakraya, where nothing literally, or I guess Sakraya now because Hystria has a mechanic, but like Sakraya, nothing ever changes, like literally ever. So it's just the same grind every hour. Nothing ever new happens unless someone comes and flags on you. So I think it's good. It's not bad.
Do we have anything else for this week's patch?
Laura's quest, useless. Guild missions, useless. And new attendance swords, which are also pretty blah. And that's it.
Got a lot of other games to talk about this week.
Let's do it.
Kurt, you played some Elyon, right?
Yeah, I played a decent bit last night. Yeah.
How much is a decent bit?
So I took a different route than I normally do in like MMOs. I've never played like the support / healer aspect. So I made like a orc mystic and was just basically going full support. I was playing with some friends in Discord and I was just like healing them up, just kind of goofing around while we're doing the quests. Cause the quests are kind of like weirdly not instanced, but kind of instanced. If you know, but if you've played it, you know what I mean? Where like you're doing the quest at the same time that other people are also doing the quests. So it was kind of interesting.
Yeah. You like walk up to an area and it shifts to an instance, and then you finish the quest and it shifts back.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's like, you like phase through, but it's somewhat seamless. It's not always seamless, but like the way they do it, it's kind of interesting, I guess.
PvP yet?
I have not done any PvP. Have you? Have you done any?
Oh yeah, we did a good amount. There's this like very weird beach thing that we were fighting over. I don't know if there was actually a win condition. Every time we killed a certain number of people, they would spawn like higher level NPC guards for the other team that would just come in one
That's
shot.
kinda cool.
I hated it.
Well, I mean, the one shot mechanic, but
It was so annoying. Yeah, well, we were just out here trying to like experience some PvP, and there were constantly NPCs spawning and getting in the way of all our skills. It was really fucking annoying.
Were you guys like camping a city or something? Was it like a town?
No, we're just camping some shitty little beach area. It didn't even have any quests or anything. It was just like it was there. It was supposed to be there for PvP.
So for Elyon, yeah, how does the PvP work? Is it like something you have to just go and do or flag up? Like, how's that work?
It's faction based.
So when you start potion, you pick red. I forget the name. There's red and there's blue, and you pick a side.
Okay. So then like it's sort of like Horde versus Alliance at that point, where it's just like the side you're on is the side you have to stay on, and everybody on the enemy side are there, like different starting locations, like a traditional MMO.
Yeah, Ontari and Vulpin. That's the side, the two sides. Ontari is red and Vulpin is the blue. And I don't know. I'm not far enough in to know, or like I don't even know if they know if you can change sides. It doesn't seem like any of the races are locked to different sides or anything either. So,
it looks like it has like a traditional MMO feeling to it. Like overall, like everybody I've talked to.
It feels like I don't know, man. It doesn't feel very traditional to me. If the questing and the leveling up feels very soulless. I like the combat. The combat feels good, and I think the PvP has a lot of potential. But the questing is so like mind numbing. It's not immersive at all. I'm really like feeling the gameplay drag going from region to region, spamming the same quests over and over again.
Yeah, I'm really like. That's why I don't want to too much comment a whole lot on it early, because like I know the process of going through the questing and stuff is a big drag, where it's like talk to this NPC, then walk 2 inches to the left and talk to this NPC. Oh, then there's gonna be an airship that drops mechs on you, and you kill those mechs, and then talk to the NPC. It's a little bit of like.
It's kind of like the BDO main quest. It's a lot of walking and spamming art, and it's just not that interesting. And it feels, I don't know, the world itself. Like a lot of people have been complaining about Unreal Engine 3. I don't know if that's the cause or if it's something else, but the game kind of feels outdated already, just in terms of aesthetics. Like not in terms of feel at all. I think it feels good to play, but in terms of just the look and the world and like getting immersed in it, it feels like an old game. It doesn't really capture your I don't know, it doesn't suck you in.
Yeah. I kind of heard like the good things are like potentially the PvP and maybe the end game. You guys kind of think that might be the potential there?
So,
yeah, I think the end game PvP has a lot of potential. The PvP itself, so the choices you make in PvP are really good. Like you have to choose between talents that are like, this talent will make you do increased damage, but it'll decrease the range of the ability, or this other talent will give you more mobility, but it has a longer cooldown. Like there's all these interesting trade-offs that you can make so that your class plays a lot differently from someone else who's playing the same class. And I think that, you know, there's going to be a lot of like strategy in terms of how you play your class, and like the group PvP is very skill based. You know, it's not tab targeting. You have to actually aim your abilities and position properly and manage your cooldowns and your stamina. So yeah, I think the PvP is solid. I just don't know if the world beyond the PvP is going to get people invested enough to care. You know what I mean? Like, or if it's just going to be an arena simulator.
One of the things that I will give them credit for is that, so obviously the combat in the field is rather dated, right? For something from like mid 2000s, but they kind of covered it up pretty well by like making basically everything an AoE ability. And so it's all tab target, but it kind of gives you a feel of like actual control and impactiveness on your abilities, right? So for example, like having like AoE snares and things like that, instead of just like having to actually target someone, by making most things AoE, it makes it feel a little more intuitive than just like tab targeting. So
Yeah,
I mean, I will give them credit on that.
you have tab targeting on the Mystic?
No, on the Mystic, pretty much everything is AoE. So I have like these Vine. I have a couple target abilities. So you have this one that's like your hold left click where you do like a leech life from people, like stealing mana and doing constant damage. But most of your other abilities are like AoEs, like AoE snares, throwing out AoE knockouts, meteor drops, things like that.
Yeah, all
It's
my
like
abilities are free aimed. Like it definitely feels like action combat. It doesn't feel as like fast paced as BDO, but it definitely
yeah.
feels me. And your skills chain together in interesting ways. The only thing I'm not sure if I like is the CC mechanics are kind of weird. You CC someone and then they have a CC break that they can use that's on a cooldown.
Yeah.
And it just like, I don't know, it's kind of like having V in the game, except like every 20 seconds instead of every 5 minutes. So I'm not sure about that. I need a little bit more time to see if that like actually integrates well or if it's just like a annoying get out of jail free card.
That sounds like a really bad version of like what fighter games have. A lot of fighter games where if you continue getting comboed, then you have like a breakout. You charge up your breakout bar, and when it's charged up after taking enough combos, then you can use that to get break out of a combo, and then like have a chance of redeeming yourself a little bit. It seems like a really bad version of that because it never should be a cooldown. It's almost always is like something that is triggered by being destroyed really hard. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to play around with it more. We only did like maybe an hour of PvP, so I've got to keep around with it and see.
Does the warrior have like a sidewards iframe, sort of like a dash or something?
Yeah, all classes have a dash.
So all classes have that iframe dash where they like
you spend stamina for it, and it's an iframe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was because like I only was playing the Mystic. I haven't like made any of the other classes because I was going for that like kind of pure support build just to see what it's like. But yeah, I like that there feels to be a little bit of like you were saying, customization between characters. So like that one of like you get these rune stones and you use these rune points to like upgrade and augment abilities. So like the base form of the hold left on the Mystic is you like point it at enemies and you like deal constant damage to them and you like leech mana from them, right? And then you like there's an augment for it, the one that I use, it makes it so you can no longer target enemies, but it will bounce between 3 of your allies and like heal them constantly, right? And like pulse a shield every now and then. So like you lose that combat effectiveness, but you basically like spec into like a healing role, which was I guess that was kind of interesting to see the way they did that.
Yeah, I've had a really hard time sticking on people as a warlord. So I've been basically just taking as many mobility talents as I can. And that's kind of solved the problem for me. But it was kind of annoying how I would grab someone and stun them and they would just CC break and like triple dash away. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm a melee class, so now I'm just pressing W like an idiot. But I don't know. I've gotten a bunch of movement talents since then, so I can kind of re-engage. But it feels like I have to re-engage on the same target so many times because of this like spammable iframe that every class seems to have.
Yeah, because so you could pop this if you have a full stamina bar. It seems you can use that iframe twice before your stamina is gone. Plus, you have that CC break. So like early, I could see how it's like a really weird dynamic of like you catch someone, well they get out, and then you have to catch them again, but they still have those 2 iframes to kind of like fish for time, and then they can do the CC break again after like 20 or 30 seconds. So it's kind of I don't know. It kind of like puts it all on the catch. Or like,
even within the same 20-second window, though, like I don't know if it's just high stamina regeneration or what it is, but like I would catch a squishy class, like an elementalist, and they would dash away and I would re-engage, and they would dash away again. I don't know if the Elementalist has like a secondary CC break, or if they have a teleport.
No, stamina region's fast as shit, dude.
It just
Stamina
felt like they
region's
were
really
fucking
fast.
constantly dashing, and I didn't feel like I had the same amount of dashes to keep up with them, because I'm spending time doing these attack animations instead of just full sprinting.
Because I know on the Mystic I can like dash to the side with the iframe, and then 2 seconds dash again, 2 seconds dash again, and never get to the point where I have to use the second dash to deplete my stamina all the way. So you can kind of like chain them together to keep repositioning and like dropping slow fields on the ground and like dropping crowd control. So you can there's definitely gonna. It seems like there needs to be a little bit of like stamina changes, because you can really like chain protections like that.
Yeah, people in chat are saying that apparently Elementalist has like a blink on top of the dash, so I guess they do have an extra layer of movement. So yeah, I don't know. Good for them.
It makes sense.
Question about it. So Cacao Games is the publisher of this, and obviously they worked with Black Desert. They're also planning on making a Arcade 2, and Cacao Games is paying the bills for the development of that. So I'm really curious how the monetization is in this, because I don't think Elyon is going to be like a BDO killer. It's going to be a game that's fun to play for a little bit. But I'm really curious if the monetization is bad in this game or good in this. It might be an indicator that Arcade 2 may be good or bad also.
Do you think the publisher has that much say in how it's monetized? I think it's mostly.
I think it's going to be more on Blue. Was it Bluehole? Blue.
Yeah,
Blue.
I think what we learned with BDO and with Pearl Abyss and Cacao is that Cacao really had almost no power over what was in the cash shop. They could try to persuade Pearl Abyss not to add certain things, but Pearl Abyss absolutely had the final say about what monetization got in and what didn't.
If they're paying all the bills on this, they can kind of dictate that up front a little bit more, and they probably learned a lot of lessons from working with Black Desert, I'd imagine, on
how do you
what
know
they want to
paying
dictate.
the bills? You're saying they're funding the developments?
Yeah, they funded.
That's different.
They're funding the development of it, and then that's why they're getting the publishing rights in NA. They announced it that Blue Hole was going to be the developer of it, and Cacao is paying the bills. The same thing with Arcade 2. That's why
they'd have to, because Arcade ain't making no money.
Yeah. So that's why I'm really curious about the monetization of this, because I do think it might not be a proof, and they can always change stuff, but I do think it's an indicator of how much hope we can have for the monetization of Arcade 2.
The sentiment that I got from a couple of YouTube videos is that there is some like pay advantage mechanics, like pay to speed up your progress mechanics, but people seem to think it's not nearly as egregious as the stuff you can buy in BDO. From what I've seen so far, I imagine they're right about that, but we also don't know if the Western cash shop is going to be different than the Korean one, which I suspect it would be, at least for launch. At the very least, they're going to probably bait us in with a lesser cash shop and then switch later and add, Cron Stones, just like Pearl Abyss did.
That's the real worry.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, by the time Arcade 2 comes out, we'll know for sure if they're going to go down that path or not. We'll know 100% if Elyon's going pay to win, and that'll be a very strong indicator for. Anyway, it's interesting. I think that it's good that they're doing that. I hear it's a BDO clone or a BDO knockoff. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's true?
Nope, not in the slightest.
Nothing like BDO. It's closer to like a Terra 2 than it is like a BDO. It's closer to that Terra style, that like mid 2000s-esque game, like early 2000s, more so than it is to BDO.
Well, they originally, when they did Air Infinite Ascent, which was the original name of the game, when they released a trailer for it, it actually had Terra assets in the trailer. Like this, they had a picture of the shield of like the warrior, and then that picture of the shield and warrior was the exact same shield that's in Terra, and they did it like side by side between the two. So I mean, I think feeling like Terra is very likely because they stole a lot of assets from Terra and put it into the game.
Yeah, people are saying it's literally a lot of the same devs from Terra. So I think calling it a Terra clone, I didn't play Terra, but I think calling it a Terra clone is probably a lot closer than calling it a BDO clone. I'm not seeing hardly any connection to BDO other than the fact that like there's some RNG gear progression, I guess, and you can break your gear, but that's like every Korean game.
Sure.
Yeah, I was lurking in a couple streams off and on yesterday, and a lot of people that say they were ex-Terra players seem to be some of the most excited about it, just because it reminds them so much about Terra, even down to like some of the bosses and their mechanics.
Well, I guess
Yeah,
it's
I
a
think
good
the
sign
combat
because
is very well designed. I just don't know if the world is going to, keep me invested. Like as an MMO, I don't know if it's there. As an arena game or as a instance PvP game, I think it's probably going to be great.
what was the main downsides of Terra? Do we know what those were?
I don't know a whole lot about Terra. I was kind of out of the MMO industry during that time period. I was just playing MOBAs and being cynical.
Yeah, anyway, I'm kind of curious to see how it goes. I've been watching you play Moro on your stream, and I'm really curious to see like the end game, because I feel like that's where the game has a really strong chance of competing with BDO. Is BDO's PvP has been really kind of in a weird spot for years, and I don't think it'd be very hard for a game like Elyon to compete with that and be better.
I think BDO, like it's hard to say because I was a new player in BDO a long time ago. I don't know how the current new player experience is. Maybe it seems kind of chunky to me, like the way you're forced to do the main quest and then you like get this Narshaling gear and then you kind of plateau right away. I feel like the BDO new player experience has kind of gone downhill, but I don't know. Maybe people disagree with that. I know back in the day when I started playing BDO, it was super addictive right off the bat. Like I did not feel any struggle to get invested into the game. I did like 5 different things all at once in BDO. I was doing the quest and grinding. I was managing my farm and growing my sunflowers and learning the node system. And like, there was all these really interesting systems that simultaneously captivated me. And, my first 8 hours or so in Elyon, I've just been spamming the F key, talking to NPCs and killing mobs over and over again with the same 3 skills. And
As time is going on, I like less and less hand holding. Like it's really weird going from BDO, a game that kind of like obviously BDO holds your hands more nowadays, giving you the free Narchillin gear and stuff like that. But like it's kind of weird spending your first like 20 plus hours playing a game, just questing, talking to NPCs, kill a mob, talk to NPCs. That's kind of like a weird, I don't know. That's one of the old relics of MMOs of the past that I don't really like, that I kind of feel that like should have been left to the wayside, is the whole like talk to an NPC, kill a mob, talk to an NPC, kill a mob style for like 20 hours just to get started in the game.
It's like this really bad imitation of like literal 2004 World of Warcraft. And it's like, come on, boys, can't we innovate a little bit? Can't we come up with something different?
Yeah.
Or if you're going to imitate it, can you at least do it well?
Yeah, I feel like the whole thing is there's a lack of player choice, right? It's just like this linear thing, and you're told do this because we said do it, and a game is a lot more fun when the player's making a choice of what they want to do, and I feel like that is what the current questing doesn't allow you to do. I don't know. That's just what I feel.
I don't know. I did a single player dungeon too, and that was kind of neat. I don't see it as something I would want to do all day long, but maybe some of the group dungeons will feel interesting to repeat.
How are their dungeons unique? Like, what makes them a dungeon instead of a grind spot or something?
The dungeon I did was a start to finish, go in a straight line, kill a boss at the end. There wasn't really anything unique about it except for the boss fight itself, which was kind of interesting. You have to dodge mechanics. It feels a little Dark Soulsy. That's about it.
Like I did like for sure how like the dodging felt pretty responsive. Honestly, I will say that. And for all we know, like maybe it's just the early game. Maybe it's like BDO where it doesn't do questing very well, but like there will be elements to keep you there. Sort of like depending on how large scale stuff goes. From watching some of the videos, it looked pretty intuitive and not super laggy. So. I mean, so I don't want to rag on it too hard. I'll probably put a couple more hours into it and try to see if I can get to the end of the monotony of the quest string. But yeah,
I think if the game is going to shine, it's going to shine once we're all high level and have our builds and have our gear and we're doing PvP objectives. The actual early game progression, as far as I can tell, is dog shit, and that seems to be a consistent problem with a lot of these Eastern MMOs. I felt the same way when I played Arcade. Like that game is just fucking horrendous before max level. I don't know why it even exists. But I guess there's just certain things that people feel like they have to put in an MMO to make it an MMO, and we just can't iterate on those things for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see that for sure. I mean, I'm just surprised that they did questing after like literally everybody says, "Hey, we don't like daily quest in World of Warcraft. Hey, we don't like the main quest line in BDO." And then after all of that feedback that players been giving for years, and they're trying to make a new MMO, and the first thing they do is force you to do questing for like the first like 20 hours of the game. You know,
it's because I mean it's obviously like, you know, people see that World of Warcraft was very successful, and that's basically what WoW did, right? Just like the monotony of like the kill quests and stuff. At least WoW had some story behind it, but like you can really tell that, or at least from what I've seen, there hasn't been a whole lot of like innovation. I do like the different mounts. Like I saw some people had like an airship, which looked pretty cool.
What?
And some of the mounts, like the hoverboards and things like that, those have been pretty cool.
Oh God,
but
hoverboards! Want to kill myself?
Immersion
but
killers.
yeah, I'm kind of waiting for that thing that they did that's outside of the box to kind of separate it, and I haven't yet found it. But I'm gonna give it a couple more hours, I guess, here and there, just to see.
Yeah, I think that's you kind of hit it there. Like it's the same thing with Ashes of Creation, right? It's like, okay, I get it. You're polishing things that other MMOs have already done. Good job. It's fun. We'll all play it. But what is new? What are you doing that's actually new? Like that's what I feel is missing from all these new games that are coming out. It's like, what is actually new here?
Yeah, like that's the biggest thing for me, is that I know the MMO genre has become really stale, but I just want to see something different. Even if they do something and it fails, it turns out to not be good, try something different. But I know obviously it's easier said than done because you have investors to please and it's not cheap to make an MMO. But
Yeah,
like,
nobody wants to take a risk.
yeah, I really would like something that's like someone to do something out of the box, I guess.
I just want to see some smaller scale MMOs. I don't really care for this big MMO thing anymore. Like I just want to see some small scale MMOs where they're simple in scope. Yeah, simple in scope, and then you just see if it works. And it doesn't cost a whole lot. If it fails, you just like do another one, you know? And that's I feel like what they need to be doing more of is just trying to figure out what is the next big thing. And then once you do one thing right, then figure out something else to do right, you know?
Albion is doing super well. I don't know why somebody doesn't just make an Albion game that isn't like a shitty phone game. Like just take all the same concepts but make it like actually look and feel good. They would crush everybody.
I was really surprised by how much fun that I ended up having on Albion when it first came out, honestly. Like to this day, Hellgates and Albion might still be the most fun I've had in a PvP.
Yeah, dude. Best in years in an MMO.
Yeah, I don't think I've had more fun in Hellgate, and it's literally just such a simple design.
It's brain dead. 5v5 with like, you know, an actual stakes. That's all it is.
I haven't played Hellgates before. What is it, an MMO?
So Hellgates is a game mode inside Albion. So you have two teams of 3 that enter this rift, and you basically fight mobs to get to the center of the rift, and you meet with the other party and you guys fight. And the losing party gets kicked out, and the winning party gets to fight a boss for loot. And so people made different 3v3 comps, and like you had different tactics and things like that, and it had pretty good rewards, and it was fun.
That sounds actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, and they have different tiers of it. So like the high tier ones, it's a full loot PvP game. So the high tier ones, you drop your loot. But they also have low tier ones where you don't drop your loot. So you can kind of practice if you're newer or if you're more casual. And, you know, the rewards are scaled down accordingly.
Huh. Maybe that's what, what's it called? Maybe that's what Riot Games MMO that they're developing, that'll come out in like 5 years will be. Maybe they're going to take like the Albion model and kind of improve on that. I mean, it has the League of Legends top-down style, so it makes
Riot's the company to make that gamble, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be. I mean, they just started hiring for it, so I mean, you know, it's at least like 5 years out or something. So what do you guys really think about Albion for like long term? Like, do you think it's going to be a game that has longevity? like because of gear progression or
I
anything?
think it's already demonstrated that. I mean, it's been going strong for
I mean,
4 or 5 years now.
Been around a couple years now. I think the biggest thing that's like Moreland said that's keeping a lot of people from giving it a shot is just the graphics, right?
Well, it's the graphics and the feel. Like the combat literally just doesn't feel that good in that game. It feels like a mobile game.
Yeah, I mean, it basically kind of is like a MOBA kind of.
That's how it was.
feel,
That's kind of how it was designed. If that game was as smooth as Dota or League, I would play it all day long. But it's just a little too clunky and frustrating. And just I don't know. If someone like made that game with proper graphics and a proper engine, I just think it would destroy everything else.
What's it called? So like, do you think that they're going to be able to address those issues in Albion? Like, do you think
no chance?
No chance.
It would be a complete rework.
They could make an Albion 2, I think, pretty easily, using the lessons from Albion 1 and just like make an actual PC engine and not trying to make it cross-platform with iPhones. But yeah, no, Albion 1 is, Albion Online is what it is. They'd have to make a sequel to. But the game is really good for what it is, though. I mean, I think it's gaining players year over year. It's not dying or anything like that. But there's always going to be that limit. There's always going to be that plateau in its current state.
I'm pretty sure I sunk like 6 months into Albion playing with some of them old man up guys. It was really, really fun.
I like the dungeons they have in there where you have it. It's like other people can enter your dungeon and then like they might just come in and like kill your mobs or whatever, and it's like always this threat level. Risk reward.
Well, it was really nice because they did a real like some of the biggest things that they did right, and Moreland could probably attest this, is they did a really good job of balancing risk versus reward and like giving different roles. So for example, you'd have different maps with different tier of resources. So you'd have people that specialize in combat that would like protect your high tier woodcutters, right, while they were harvesting wood and things like that, because it's full open world. So anybody could just roll up and kill you and take your stuff. So it gave a feel of risk versus reward and like community and like taking land.
Yeah, and you also, to some degree, you set your own risk versus reward in that game. Because if you go out in tier, 4 or 5 gear, you're risking almost nothing, but you're also punishing your power level. If you go out tier 8.3, that's a huge amount of risk, but you're also very strong. So, it's like you set your own risk to some level.
Yeah, I see. It's like a give and take situation, really.
Yeah.
Sorry, I sidetracked this super hard from Elyon. I
don't
know what we were even talking about.
No, it kind of sidestepped though, where we're talking about like MMOs not really doing anything innovative or at least taking a risk, and it kind of like segued into that.
Well, because I think it feels like Albion is the last MMO that tried anything new, like that's kind of why it comes up. It's like,
and there's no way that Albion had the kind of budget that some of these other MMOs like Ashes that could be doing innovative stuff, Ashes and Elyon and stuff, which is the surprising thing. Right?
No, I worked for Albion for like 6 or 8 months back in 2016. I can tell you for a fact they didn't have any fucking money whatsoever.
Do you think they would have the money now with the current success of the game to be able to fund an Albion too?
Very successful.
They had a really good monetization thing I found with like the like monthly subscription thing.
How's that work?
That's been forever.
You pay for like a monthly sub that gives you, like bonus XP and shit. It's pretty much mandatory, but you can also pay in-game silver for it. It's kind of like the same monetization as EVE, where you could technically buy money in the game with real life. But again, because it's a full loop PvP game, you're not paying for any permanent power. If you were to go and spend $1,000 and buy all the best gear in the game, you could easily just step outside of town and lose that 5 minutes later. So it's not quite pay to win. It's more like pay to recover your losses or pay to not be punished when you fuck up. Your paying doesn't really actually make you win, right? It just like makes you suffer less when you die.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there still things in the game that you can only acquire through playing the game? Because I would see
it's a complete free market economy, so anything you acquire in that game you can sell and trade to another player. So in theory you could spend real money to get the funds to buy that thing from another player.
I guess what I'm asking is, like, what's the motivation? If I just go in there and spend, let's say, $1,000 and get the best gear, what's the motivation to continue playing at that point?
Well, if you spend $1,000 and get the best gear, then you go out and you die, and then someone just picks it up and takes it from you. And
That's the motive. Well, you're not playing Albion to progress your gear. You're playing Albion to fucking farm kids and take their shit, right? Like your gear progression isn't the reason you're playing. You lose your gear 10 times a day in that game. But the point is, as you're losing your gear, you're also gaining gear from the people you kill. And so, like, when you kill someone who's got really expensive gear, that's like a big find. It's essentially it's supposed to be just a sandbox PvP game. It's not supposed to be like
basically
a PvP grinder.
So like in your guild would have different area, like you'd have your guild headquarters, right? And then you would have chests where you would dump the loot that you got from killing other players for like armor and stuff that you could throw on. And as your gear progressed, like their blacksmiths and things like that, then like tier 4 gear becomes something that's not of high value because you can churn that out easily. Then you move up T5, T6, things like that, and it becomes like you lose your gear all the time, like Moreland said. So you don't really become attached to items like you do in BDO. Gear is just a resource to allow you to have that PvP / control territories the way you want to, basically, which is kind of like a different swing than like BDO, where it's like you get your pin accessory and you keep it forever, right? And you're attached to it.
Yeah, I
Your progression is your skills. So like you go and you kill mobs and you gain skill in a weapon, and then you become more proficient with that weapon. But your gear is almost a consumable in that game. Like it's almost better to look at it as it's better to look at it as a temporary buff rather than a permanent part of your character.
Oh, yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. I guess it kind of would give the same vibe as like Last Oasis then, where you are
similar full loop PvP kind of thing.
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely feel like that's probably a game that you want to play with friends then, and like if you're a solo player,
very hard,
very fun.
Yeah, it's definitely almost impossible to be a solo player. You can do some things like there's like trading people do, like they have one item may be worth less or worth more in the next town over, right? So you take the risk of like transporting items to sell it for higher price and things. So they have that like Eve style mercantile like aspect of it that a lot of people also like in that way.
That's kind of interesting. Like, I don't know what else to really say about it.
I think about going back to that game all the time. It's just that every time I do, I get frustrated by the combat.
Dude, that game gave me trust issues. We were like building up this like guild with some of the Man Up boys, and then like they let one of the guys in who was like, I don't know, I guess he was an officer of Man Up at the time in BDO, and he just like took all our shit. He like took all the shit that we worked for like 5 months, bro. And I was just like, fuck this game. So like games like that it do give you trust issues, honestly. So you gotta like it kind of goes back to those old MMOs where people play the long con to like infiltrate guilds and stuff.
Those are the days.
I don't think I've ever played a game like that.
What I feel like is missing from games like Elyon, right? Is where are the emergent player dynamics? It's like, okay, the PvP is good, the combat is good, but like that could just be a MOBA, right? That could just be a battle arena game or a fighting game. There has to be actual reasons to interact with other players and have positive versus negative interactions. Like just good combat or good arena modes or whatever is nice. Like it'll get me to play the game, but it's not going to kill BDO. It's not going to make it my main game. It's not going to be something I play for years. It's not going to be something I have like memories that I want to tell people about for years and years afterwards, unless there's actually some emergent dynamics that cause me to like collide with other players in interesting ways other than just killing each other, you know?
Yeah, that's why like I said with Elyon, I'm trying to find that one thing that they did good. Because from what I find, a lot of games, they do have something that they do well. So for example, Arcade, they had their ocean content. The ocean content in Arcade is hands down the best ocean content ever put in an MMO. And it's not even close. Like their fishing, if anybody's ever done the fishing in Arcade, is the best done out of any game. And then obviously Albion, you had your Hell Gates. And then obviously BDO, we have the combat. So I'm kind of just trying to dig and see what it is that like Elyon has done right or like has done that's different, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And maybe we'll run into it. I don't know. I mean, it's only been like 8 or 9 hours. So we'll see. Still pretty early.
True.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But from what I've seen on YouTube and everything else, I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot left other than just, in-game 10v10s and 100v100s, which do look sick, but, we'll see.
What was it? World of Warcraft did a pre-patch announcement, and I heard
Holy fuck.
that caused some animosity.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone is annoyed by that shit. So wait, did they say when the actual pre-patch is? Because TBC is launching June 1st, which is like way too fucking soon.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I was watching your stream yesterday about that.
There was a leaked June 1st post like a week ago, and everyone was like, "No, that's clearly fake." Like even Blizzard isn't stupid enough to release TBC on June 1st. Like that gives you no time for pre-patch. That gives people no time to level their Draenei and their Blood Elves. Like, that's just garbage. Obviously, they wouldn't do that. And then a few days later, it's like TBC coming on June 1st, and also you can pay real money for amounts. Haha.
When you say pre-patch, what do you mean by pre-patch as a non-WoW player? What is the significance of pre-patch?
Pre-patch is when they add the races from Burning Crusade into the game early so that people can level them up. Because right now, Horde can't be Paladin and Alliance can't be Shaman. And so in order to get ready for TBC, you need time to level up your Alliance Shaman or your Horde Paladin. Or if you just want to be the new race, like for whatever, there's a variety of reasons why you would want time before the expansion to play with a pre-expansion update. There's changes to crafting skills, there's changes to talent trees, there's a bunch of stuff that happened before the expansion that you can kind of do to get ready. And now it's like, you better fucking hurry because, if you want to be leveled up in time for TBC and you're playing a Paladin, you got about 5 fucking minutes. And it means that you can't really play the game. Like the whole point of pre-patch is you roll a bunch of Blood Elf characters with your homies and you go level up and quest and do dungeons and you play World of Warcraft, right? And you have fun leveling up. Which is like a novel concept nowadays in MMOs. But when you have no time to do that because the actual expansion is right around the corner, instead what people are going to do is essentially pay higher level players to boost them through dungeons so they can skip the leveling process and just instantly be max level for the expansion because they literally don't have time to play the game legit. Like you have to essentially like pay someone to boost you past the game and like skip all the fun parts to get ready for TBC.
Okay, so if they didn't do the pre-patch, then on the day that the new content came out, you wouldn't even be able to play it. You'd have to spend like the next couple weeks like getting ready.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Honestly, like it seems like a huge oversight to kind of honestly like ruin the enjoyable part of the game aside from the raid.
Well, then on top of that, there's now a cash shop that never existed in Classic, where people can buy like mounts and shit that they shouldn't have access to at early levels, using real life money. They're also the boost. They're selling a level 58 boost that people can buy, which is kind of like a slap in the face. Because again, like one of the reasons you would need that boost is because you don't have time to level up normally, right? So it's kind of like, oh, I see what we're doing here.
Wow.
And then. Although to their defense, you can't boost the new races, so there is that. They're not being super greedy with it, but it's still kind of a slap in the face because the boost is like $40 or something. It's like literally the price of a game to boost a character, and the boost wouldn't even be necessary if they just gave people time to play the actual game and level up. And then they also. There's a function where you can copy or you can clone your character to a permanent Classic era server. So if you're someone who wants to stay in vanilla rather than moving on to TBC, or if you're someone who wants to do both, you have to pay like $35, I think, to clone your character. Otherwise, if you don't pay the $35, you have to choose either TBC or vanilla. You can't play both. So like, yeah, it's just a lot of slaps in the face all at once.
It seems like they've destroyed two of the most fundamental things to World of Warcraft, because like back in the day, my understanding was raids were a big thing, leveling was a big thing, and like chasing the mounts was a really big thing. And it seems like they've taken a huge dump on leveling and the mount system. So really the only thing left at this point would be the raids, which again is not really like, I mean, that's only 1/3 of the experience.
Yeah, having a unique mount was a huge deal back then, and now it's just another cash shop thing.
Ugh. I feel like there are gonna be a lot of angry people about that, or if not already.
Do you think WoW has like a constant stream of new players, or if it's just nostalgia from old players keeping it going?
I think there was actually quite a bit of new people who came into Classic who never played WoW before.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think Classic's going to do that. I don't think the Burning Crusade will do that, just because of the negative sentiment so far.
Yeah, especially with this kind of publicity, there's going to be a lot fewer people wanting to try it out because everyone's just going to be shit talking it. All the big WoW content creators are going to be trash talking it instead of hyping it like they did with Classic.
Mm-hmm. I think and it should have been the opposite happening, because they've been like, oh my gosh, I remember doing this raid boss, I remember doing this, that, oh, we get to do this again. Like, that should be what the storyline is right now from streamers, but it's almost the complete opposite. And then really the third expansion was like where a lot of people thought the game peaked, right? The third or fourth or something like that.
I think most people agree that the game peaked in either Burning Crusade or Wrath. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Is everyone's favorite era of the game.
So everybody's favorite era of the game is the one that's getting the most like garbage talked on it, which I think is just really unfortunate, because it should have been the most hype moment in like MMO history, just about where you get to relive the great days, so to speak. And I guess you'll still have that, but it seems like really frustrating. Even as a non-WoW player, it's frustrating to hear.
It's very frustrating to just see any MMO that has a chance of being fun get ruined by greed and horrible administrative decisions by people who aren't gamers.
Mm-hmm. It's just like the same story in, what's the reason why this one's bad? What's the reason why that one's bad? It's just like, it feels like the same repeating story with a slightly different twist with every recent MMO. I've been hopeful for like some of the new stuff, but it's hard to when you see things like this. Also, Shadowlands is also apparently like has a whole bunch of bad publicity, which is apparently the next big update to World of Warcraft.
Do you think that's more like an Activision thing or like a Blizzard thing?
I think it's both, because I think when the original Activision took over, I think a lot of the Blizzard staff said, "Hey, peace. It was a great time. Enjoyed it. I'm going to go do my own thing now." And then I think they just never recovered from that transition. And like, I think at this point, either like old school Blizzard needs to take over and do things, which won't happen, or Activision needs to completely take over and is someone with a true vision for the game and knows where they want to take it. Because right now it's like, I feel like there's two different versions of World of Warcraft. There's like the old school, like, hey, this is what makes the game great, and then there's this new school vibe. And like, what was I heard? I think Mist of Pandaria was like the best blend of the two, I think it's what a lot of people said. So it sort of had a good blend of both of those, where you had like skills that felt valuable and impactful, and like your choices mattered, but it wasn't so hardcore. But
yeah, I think they're continuing to lose talent year after year. I think that's most people in Blizzard who made the company what it was back in the day have moved on, and that's just a problem that's continuing to get worse and worse every year. And I don't think they're replacing it with people who are bringing anything new or innovative to the table.
Mike Warheim was the old CEO of Blizzard, right? Is that correct?
I'm not sure. That doesn't sound familiar.
Anyway, one of the old CEOs of Blizzard started up two new game studios, and a lot of the town is leaving Blizzard now to go over there and work for the old CEO and his new company, and they're basically just like stealing that talent right underneath from Blizzard. And apparently the CEO of current Activision Blizzard is got a huge pay cut. They're struggling this year for like titles and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, he got a huge bonuses last couple of years, but he kept making silly decisions. Like StarCraft had one of its biggest years in history, and the game has literally zero support now, like zero developers on it, and had one of its biggest years recently. And they canceled the entire esports side of things, and then they had to rebuild it up from scratch again. It's just like this terrible decision after terrible decision. Like the only things right now I feel like are doing.
If you're like a really talented, passionate game developer right now, would you want to work at Blizzard? I sure fucking wouldn't want to. I mean, the company's reputation gets worse every year. Like, you don't want to be associated with that anymore.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, at this point, if you have that on your thing, you know, if you have that on your like portfolio, you're gonna be like, you want to say like World of Warcraft Classic or something. You don't want to say like Shadowlands or any of the new stuff. Really, I feel like that's not even a big boon at this point for like trying to get hired at better companies. I do think that Blizzard's doing good with Vindictus, or not Vindictus. What's it called? Vicarious Studios, or Vicarious Visions, or something like that. I forgot what it's called. The ones that made like the Spiral expansion, the Tony Hawk remake, the Diablo 2 Resurrected. I think a lot of those are doing really good, and I think Diablo 4 looks like it's it's not going to be a best game, but I think
that's their best shot at making money is just re-releasing their games that were actually good from 20 years ago.
I feel like they've been doing a pretty good job with that, though, and I feel like Diablo 4 team's doing a good job of listening to player feedback, but I feel like the vast majority of what they're doing right now between Activision and Blizzard is just missing the mark, and they got to figure out how to get some semblance of control again.
Yeah, I hope Diablo 4 is good, man. I don't know. We'll see. I went and played Warcraft 3 a little bit more, Reforged, and I remember being super disappointed by it when it came out. But holy shit, I didn't remember how bad it was. Like playing on the like remastered quote unquote UI. Holy fuck, dude! I there were several times. I think so. Chi downloaded it for the first time. And he was having an issue with one of the maps, and I was like, "Oh, well, you need to switch to classic mode." And he was like, "I am in classic mode. I'm not in remastered." And I was like, "No, if you're having that issue, you're in classic mode." And he was like, "Or you're in remastered mode. You need to switch back to classic." And he was insisting, like, "No, I'm definitely in classic mode." And finally, he opened up his menu, and sure enough, he was in the remastered version. He just couldn't wrap his head around how fucking bad the remaster was. He was so confident that he was playing the classic version.
I think that says a lot for like the quality of that remake. I do think that a few of them have been good, but it's like when your best successes are like things that came out years ago, I think that's a telltale sign that things today are not as good as they should be. I
just want somebody to do something out of left field, dude. Even if it just crashes and burns, just try something different. Go out on a ledge. Whether it's like in regards to a gameplay mechanic, whether it's like PvP related, whether it's just nothing like that. Maybe it's something completely different. It doesn't even have to be like some crazy high cost of development project like BDO. It can even be something like small scale. Just like try something different.
Absolutely.
Because like the current model is, I don't know, it's kind of stale. And then like we also have this spree of like companies getting funding to make their MMOs and then actually never coming out with the MMOs. So that's also
the real
like
strat. Yeah, that's the real strat. Just do a Kickstarter and then do 4 years of development.
I mean, basically, dude, Kickstarter, make a couple $1 million and then like just make some low quality video to get people hyped, and that's what they do.
What was it? Elysium? What was the game like that has like some
area? Dude, that game's trying to say that it's still in development after like canceling and taking everyone's money. I guess he got sued or something, so he had to like go back to work.
Yeah, exactly. He had to go back to work for it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, like, I just want something, right? And I don't see any game doing it. I mean, I guess the only true solution is I have to make the next MMO. All right, it's getting desperate out there.
I keep telling you guys that you're all asleep on the next good MMO to come out.
Yeah, what would that be?
You know what it's called?
More Online.
Less Unleashed.
I'm
serious.
Oh, bro. I mean,
I can't tell if you're serious or not serious.
I'm serious, dude. I played it for a month on Xbox. It was really fun. They fixed the game, and then they gave it another year of development, and it's going to come out on PC later this year. It looks really good, dude.
All right. I will say that Blush Unleashed on console actually had like decent graphics. It looked modernized. I will believe when I see it. I've just heard Bless has been that like it's just new. It's too notorious. Its notorious level is way too high, and it I cannot trust it.
They should not have named it Bless. They should
The
have
biggest-
definitely branded.
Yeah, the biggest problem with Bless is that even if it's the best thing since sliced bread, it's like there's no way people actually give it a running like a try, like a genuine chance.
I think eventually they will when they
Like
when they
it-
see people playing it and having fun, and they realize there's nothing else to play. I think they're going to give it a try.
I mean, at this point, I would literally play it at least for a couple hours.
That's what I'm saying, dude. And that's a game that sucks you in. You start playing it, and you're like, "Shit, I kind of want to keep playing this." Like, okay, I see what my next objective is. Like, this area is nice and cozy, good atmosphere. Yeah, I want to keep going.
Bro, I just have PTSD right now from Bless being released on PC last time.
I know. I was the same way. I only played Unleashed because they sponsored me, and I literally said in the email, like, I will pay this if you pay me to, but I'm like, if I don't like it, I'm gonna be very upfront with my audience about not liking it because I hated the first one, and they were like, yeah, that's fine. You can say whatever you want to say. Like, and so I gave it a try, played for a couple hours, got paid, and then the next day I was like, fuck, I kind of want to play some Bless today, and I ended up playing it for like a good month on Xbox, and I've been waiting for the PC version ever since.
Yeah, I remember because people kept asking you, like, "Are you still sponsored to play this?" He's like, "No, I promise, I'm having fun."
Like, no, I'm unironically enjoying this game, and they're like,
People are like,
"Okay,
"Sure."
sponsored content." I literally have to disclose if I'm being paid, and they're like, "Okay, dude."
It's so good, dude. I remember. Oh,
When do they have a release date for it?
No, they have one more beta test. It's I think this month, and then it'll probably release later this year.
I
you're
mean,
gonna get some keys for the boys.
honestly, this is
For the beta, I think it's open. I think you can just sign up for. You just go to Steam and you click. You go to the Steam page and you just click like register for the beta, and I think you get in.
I gotta snag a name just in case it turns out to be good.
It's just for beta. It's not the release isn't announced yet. But I think
Really,
we'll get
open beta? They wipe like oh. I remember back in the day when games would do like their open betas, they wouldn't wipe names.
That's fucking
Anymore.
off. Oh, names? Okay, yeah, I guess that's
Yeah. Just the name. Like obviously the gear, they wipe the gear, but like they would like not wipe names.
I think honestly, despite all the negativity we've had so far towards MMOs on the podcast this time, I do think that there's going to be a pretty good year for this playing new things in the MMO genre. Like we're getting New World this year, maybe. We got Elyon, and we'll get to play that some. And then we're also going to be hearing more about Ashes of Creation, and probably might get a playable version of the game.
There's no shot there's a playable version of Ashes of Creation this year.
What's the other thing? I'm being positive right now. And then Bless Unleashed. So I mean that's three playable MMOs in some capacity. You know, maybe not full releases and everything, but I think that's a huge step up.
There's supposed to be an alpha testing, if I remember correctly, for Ashes later this month. They released like a roadmap thing in their little dev stream they did, and there's like two alpha tests that are coming up before the half of this year is over.
Yeah, they were trying to get their combat in line. They delayed it from February because their combat was so messed up, and they were afraid they were going to get a huge PR blast. Which I think it was the proper choice to delay to fix some of the combat appearance. I imagine it's still going to be trash, but you know, I can look over combat if it has like good economy and good gameplay loops. We'll see.
Yeah, we shall see.
Is there any like news this week?
Legends of Ultima has released the classic Ultima Online map on their Legends of Aria community server. So you guys remember Legends of Aria?
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah, I never did.
Well, it was supposed to be like the spiritual successor to Ultima Online. They made a lot of bad decisions. Game crashed and burned, but they had a really good like community modding part of the game, so people could make their own custom servers. And some mad lads made the entire Ultima Online map using the Legends of Aria like modding. So they have basically the whole game of you. It's not just the map; it's like the skills and the mechanics and the combat and everything else from Ultima remade in a modern engine. And that is coming out in June, and you can play the open beta for it now. So pretty niche. I know a lot of people are going to be like, what the fuck is he talking about? But I know we have some old school RPGers in here too. So any old UO players would definitely, I think you guys should check that out. I think you'll definitely be interested. I'll probably stream it at some point.
Is it going to be like Diablo 1 to Diablo 2 graphics? Or are we talking like what kind of visual upgrade we're going to get?
Google Legends of Aria and see what it looks like. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's an isometric. But Legends of Aria is, just developed in the last few years, so it's not like a remaster of an old game or anything like that.
Oh, and we get Lost Ark this year. Maybe.
Do we? That game I'm actually hyped for. That's probably the only game that I'm actually like legit looking forward to.
Yeah. Apparently Amazon has the rights for it, and they said they wanted to release it early in 2021, but we know that in business speak that means probably middle to late 2021. So waiting to hear an announcement from that. I'm really looking forward to it. I think they're probably doing the translation stuff, and I think that's probably what's taking the time. The one thing that is the downside of Lost Ark is that the development studio has one of the slowest development cycles of any video game company I've ever seen. It's been out. They did development for like 7 years or something like that on the game, and then the game's been out for a while in Korea. I think like 2 years, and they've done I think they're on like 2 seasons.
Well, the crazy thing about how long that game's been out is that apparently it's still like the number 1 or number 2 most played game in Korea. I don't know if that's going by like daily logins or accounts made or what, but I saw some metric where that game's still super popular compared to everything else that's out. So like newer games, it's more popular than newer games that have come out since.
Well, you have to understand, one is the Korean culture is really nationalist, so they always play like Korean games when they come out.
Yeah, but still, just compared to Elyon, compared to BDO, compared to Aeon, all the other games, Lost Ark is still on top.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be like a BDO. It has long-term progression, and it has...
Which country isn't nationalist, Potion Shop?
Well, I mean, when Americans, like an American company releases a video game, not everyone goes out and buys it. I think that's the big difference. But there's so few video games that get made by Koreans that whenever they have a AAA one to come out, like PUBG, they're just extremely inclined to buy it because there's just not, very many of them, and they're very proud of that. I mean, I lived there for like a year and a half. It's definitely different than Americans.
I'm just not sure I can channel the excitement for Lost Ark I had when I saw it 3 or 4 years ago when Lucario was playing it. I just, because like it's one of those things where there's been so many times like, yes, Lost Ark's coming, it's coming to the West, and then they give it to Russia.
I think I saw the first Lost Ark trailer in 2012.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, like it's really hard for me to get excited for it, for something that's been like dangled in our face for the last couple years. And then like they've did a lot of like BS pay to win stuff where it's like you can pay real life money to insta clear your daily dungeon runs and shit like that. And like,
oh, I love being able to pay money to not have to do boring scores and MMOs. That's such good design. Dude, if I could pay pearls to not have to do my T10 horse daily, whatever the price, $100 a day, you got it. I'll go sell my kidneys, like anything you want.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of stuff to play. I think that's like, it might not be like big titles or extremely popular, but there's going to be like a steady flow of this things to do in the gaming area. I feel like for like people who like BDO.
Like it's one of those things where like I don't see the BDO killer quote that people always throw around new game comes out being like any of these games that are coming out. But I'm at the point where it's like, okay, if I can find something else to play for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks while I chill on and don't play a whole lot of BDO, that's okay. I'll take that. I'll take that as a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
That's how I see like New World, Elyon, maybe Lost Ark is like all those are like happy little vacations from BDO. You know, depending on how good they are, there might be a week to 3 months. This depends entirely.
Oh, for sure. Just the 3v3 gauntlet style PvP arena alone can give you a shit ton of like enjoyment. And it really depends on like what version of the game we get. Cause in the original version of the game, everyone just played this class called Mystic, and she just this punchy chick, and she just like shat on everybody.
Yep.
But
I hope we get a few more classes than what they originally had, because there's so many cool classes in Lost Ark.
Yeah, what's annoying to me is that all the stuff that we're talking about that we like from these other games, if BDO did half of these things, we wouldn't even give a fuck about these other games. We would just become addicted to BDO again. So
True.
it's like 3v3 arenas. Oh my god, an MMO dev put a 3v3 arena in their game? How fucking revolutionary.
See, that's the thing, though. It's not even the fact that they could put these things in. It's the fact that these things are low hanging fruit, right?
Yep.
It's not even like something they would have to like innovate to
Yeah.
do.
Like imagine ranked arena where like depending on the battle arena you choose, like the first one's like 1 through 100 CP, and then second battle arena is up to 200 CP, and then the next one's 300 CP. Right, and like you could just do ranked arenas, and only one's like super easy because you already have the channels set up for it. Like it wouldn't be a hard thing to do. It just kind of blows my mind. Like you said, it's the fact that you could have it in BDO and it's easy things to do. It's not like reinventing the wheel or anything. But maybe the sheriff system will be it, boys.
Sheriff system will save BDO.
See, the problem is, bro, is that like that's why I hate ragging on these new MMOs, and I try to like find something good about them and talk about them in a good light. Because honestly, that is the biggest thing BDO needs. It just needs some kind of competitor that's in a similar realm as it, that's also doing really well and kind of like picking up steam in the MMO world, right? Because like as of right now, they have no competitors. I mean, the only other game really is like WoW, but WoW caters to a completely different audience, and it's not the same style. So there's nothing that kind of like pushes them or gives them like pressure from the bottom to like do stuff, I guess, right? So like we're not exactly ragging on other games to make them look bad, because I'm pretty sure I could say all of us here want another game to be successful. Like I'm pretty sure I feel confident saying that.
I would love for one of these companies to light a fire under Pearl Abyss's ass, because holy shit, man. Like some of this stuff is so up. But again, like I think the most frustrating part of all is when I see all the clean design decisions that BDO Mobile has, because then it's like even within the same company, they can't figure out how to fix the PC version. It's like, wait a minute, you guys we already know everything we want because you put it in the mobile game, but you won't put it on PC, which has been out for 3 times longer.
I think it's just the design leads and ego. I think that's the main thing. I think the design lead of mobile has a lot of good ideas, and the design lead of PC has an ego, and he doesn't want to get his ego hurt, so he just won't admit that he's not creating as good ideas as mobile's doing. And I think that's the core there, is that this is an ego choice there.
Well, the ironic part is there are things from mobile that they've put in PC, but it's like the worst implementations ever. It's things like adventure journals.
Yep. I think that just reinforces the idea, though. It's like, well, we're going to do what you did, but we're going to do it better. I got this great idea, and we're going to do it 5 times better than mobile did, and whoa, are you ready? And then they come out, and you're like, players like, what is this? What is this? This is not what mobile had at all. And, I feel like that's what it comes down to a lot of times. I don't know.
Maybe it's a culture thing, right? Like aren't they very big on like respect and things? So it's like if your boss has a shit idea, you're not gonna tell your boss it's a shit idea.
Do you think it really is just one guy at the top just holding
Maybe.
his game back, and everyone's just too polite to tell him otherwise?
I do think that
That's
has a
how it
pretty
feels
large play in it because they don't like
It's really how
admitting
it
there's
feels.
mistakes. That's like the big thing. They don't like admitting mistakes, so they're like if they see like a class needs a nerf, then what they say to themselves is, the person who buffed that class didn't do it correctly, and that would insult them. So we can't nerf the class because that would insult the person who originally bounced the class. So we're just gonna buff.
Oh,
And it-
true, dude. You can't
Yep.
fix the game because that insults the person who broke the game.
Yep. And I actually like non-jokingly, I actually think that is a very big problem. Maybe not necessarily in balancing, but for a lot of parts of the game. Like I think really new parts. When you know who designed it still, I feel like they just don't want to touch it until that person's left the company or gone somewhere else. Just so they don't have a chance of hurting that
You
person's
have to
feelings.
wait until the dev gets transferred over to Crimson Desert before they can fix all the things they fucked up with BDO.
I do think that's like a really big part of it though. And it might be why we've actually started seeing changes now, is because maybe the guy who was like did a lot of changes for like the last 2 years rotated out finally, and now they're starting to listen to player base because hey, the new guy says we can do it, you know. And it could be something just as simple as that. The culture, I do think, is a really big part of what's holding BDO back.
That's very
I mean, it
interesting.
does make sense, right? Because I don't see very many Koreans like, no, boss, that's a bad idea. I could see it definitely in like America, but I couldn't really see it in like.
Dude, do you guys remember that news story about the Korean plane that crashed because the co-pilot couldn't tell the pilot that he was about to crash the plane because it would have been rude or something? Do you guys remember that shit?
What the fuck? Really? That was a thing?
Yeah, just crash the plane because it would have been rude to like tell him that he was about to crash.
Yep.
They had the black box and the recording was just like, I think you should make an adjustment. And the pilot was like, nah. And he was like, well, okay, I guess I'll die.
It's a really
Very
big
weird.
thing. It is actually crazy. I actually when I lived in Korea, I had a hard time like integrating with the culture in some places because like over there it's very customary to like if you are considered to be friends, then you hang out literally every single day. It's not like some days, it's literally every single day, and you better have a really good excuse if you're not hanging out. And like it's just like they have like some of these things that are cultural that are mandated. Otherwise, like you're being rude or you're not really their friend or stuff like this. It's just, I do think it's a really big part of what's holding the game back. Like I said, I've said it several times, but I think that's really true.
I wish I had friends.
I mean, it makes sense that it would be like a cultural thing. I don't know,
Mhm.
just kind of like spitballing,
Well,
right?
and then like it's
That makes
also there's
sense.
also laws in Korea where if you're giving feedback, if it's negative in nature, you can actually get sued, just for like giving negative feedback. So like a lot of Korean players will like hold their tongues, just because they're afraid of getting sued by the actual company.
Sort of like a defamation of character or something like that.
Yeah, but it's basically for a company, and it's used a lot of times to shut up people who are being negative. It actually happens. They actually sued some guy in Korea from Black Desert. Probus sued some dude for it. It doesn't happen very
I
often.
want to know the details of this lawsuit.
But yeah, it happens fairly. It's a fairly common thing for like a pop
A
star.
link?
A pop star will be like, I don't really like their latest song a whole lot, and they'll be like, sue you, shut this person up. You know, yep, that's terrible. You can't say that. It's like a very common company thing to do over there. Anyway, though, I do think that BDO getting some positive, Elyon coming out will probably put some positive pressure on BDO to up its game a little bit, do a little better. We're getting a new PvE update, I guess, next week on Global Lab. So curious to see how good or bad it may be. So far, it's been pretty good updates. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on?
I think that's about it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they touched most things. It seems like we're gonna get most of those changes that happened on Global Labs 2 weeks ago next week because Korea got it this week, right?
The PvP changes?
So Yeah, so like the PvP damage changes and then like the guild changes. So I guess we'll see how that has an impact next week.
I just feel like we're in this weird waiting period with BDO. Like, is Thornwood Castle canceled? Is it ever coming out?
I don't know.
I don't know what the deal is with Thornwood Castle. I don't know what the deal is with the Node War rework. I don't know what the deal is with the group dungeon. Like, there's so many like top level content changes that we've been waiting for a year and a half, 2 years now.
I think that it may just be that they got a new guy in charge and he's just kind of restructuring everything for how he wants to do content release. Because I mean, they canceled seasons. They have released all these characters. Like they've been doing a lot of different changes. Like with Hadoom, I don't think like Hadoom would have been a thing they would have done 2 years ago, like ever. I feel like they've just taken a really strong, different approach. It's just taking time to implement. And I'm kind of hoping
I think they did a really good job with Hadoom. There's all these other things that they've announced way before Hadoom was ever announced, and we don't even get updated on those things anymore. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, I hope it's just a sign of things they're working on, and it'll become good, and then they'll release it. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, like I want them to tell us something about this Ataraxion before it just like fades as something that never be right. Because they showed us the little teaser for it, and then in the Sage Awakening video, you could see a group of 5 players fighting these like bosses and stuff in what looks like a dungeony area. I just hope that's not one of those things where like after 3 months of silence, it's kind of like thrown away to the wayside.
Well, the last update they gave us was Caltheon Ball, which was early December, right? So it's about time for them to announce the Heidel Ball, and that maybe would be this month, late this month or early next month.
Usually May, right? May, June.
Yeah,
for Heidel Ball usually.
So maybe that's why they're kind of keeping things mum's the word right now, is they're kind of getting everything ready to announce. I don't know. I'd like to hear some updates for sure.
I hope so, man. I hope we hear something soon.
Yep. Well, that's all I got.
All right. Well, then that was episode 43 of Nerds and Words. You could find us on Spotify, Nerds and Words. Potion, are you still uploading this on your YouTube as well?
Yep.
Cool. We will be back next Friday at 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern, talking about updates to BDO, other MMOs, whatever strikes our fancy. Hope we see you guys then. Take care.
Peace.